how much can one have to say about the Once Upon a Time spin-off show, really? A lot. One can have a lot to say. Hi, my name is Haley Whipjack. You can call me Haley, you can call me Whipjack, you can call me Haley Whipjack, kind of whatever suits your fancy. And on this channel, we have been really digging into Once Upon a Time for some reason. And we've made our way through seasons 1, 2, and 3 so far. You can catch all of those videos on my channel. They are all very regular length, the normal viewing length. And I started working on season 4. And then I remembered there's a character in season 4 of Once Upon a Time who just shows up out of nowhere that the show could not physically make me care about my first watch through because I couldn't understand why he was there. And I was informed the only reason he's there is because he is the main character of the spin-off show. And on my first watch, I didn't even know there was a spin-off show. So I didn't know who this guy was. But a spin-off there is. Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. There was a spin-off of Once Upon a Time. A show that already feels like somewhere between 3 and 7 spin-offs of itself. Okay, so let's talk about it. One of the more important things you need to know about Once Upon a Time in Wonderland is that no one watched it. And I mean that. The first episode, according to ratings numbers, had 5.8 million US viewers, and the finale, episode 13, had 3.3 million US viewers. For reference, the premiere of season 4 of Once Upon a Time had 10.2 million US viewers, and the finale of season 4 had 5.5 million US viewers, which should also tell you something about season 4 of Once Upon a Time, honestly. Interestingly, and this is a total aside already, season 3 of Once Upon a Time, that premiere had 8.5 million US viewers, and its finale had 6.8 million US viewers. So I guess everyone just really needed to be 100% sure that Once Upon a Time was actually for real doing Frozen. So everyone hopped in for the premiere just to check. And then the rest of season 4 happened. We're not talking about season 4 of Once Upon a Time right now. We are talking about Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. And Once Upon a Time in Wonderland is only 13 episodes long, one short season. And there's a limited character pool by Once Upon a Time standards, anyhow, and a somewhat limited scope of physical space. But even that does get a little nonsensical. And I say a limited character pool because I want you to be ready. This is a Once Upon a Time spinoff, so maybe you're expecting to see familiar Once Upon a Time faces. And you can expect that if you want. You will be disappointed. Only one character from the main show plays an important role, even a little bit, in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. And it's not the character you want it to be. No matter who you want it to be, it's not the one you want it to be. And if you're wondering why I'm covering this show before I'm covering season 4 of Once Upon a Time, that is because watching this show actively makes watching Once Upon a Time season 4 worse to endure. So we had to cover this before season 4 because it is important to some of the particular ways that season 4 of Once Upon a Time drives me crazy. We're going to do our usual. I'll get out the whiteboard. I know you've missed it. We're going to break down who we've got, what they do, why they make the very Once Upon a Time choices they all make. We'll gawk at some villains, and we'll boo at our heroes, and we'll cast some harsh judgment upon their outfits, and we might even get a true love's kiss or two. So jump in the rabbit hole and rub the magic lamp. I'm sorry, did I read that right for the Wonderland season, yeah? Okay, and join me as we answer the question, why did they write an entire season of television that they were going to actively try to make you forget about only 2 years after it aired? Here we go. Fit check. And guess who else is dressed up? That's right. Hermes is a queen. This is maybe the most comfortable outfit I've ever put him in. It's basically just like he's got a little blanket strapped to him. The getup in its entirety, of course. The pants are important. I'm the Mad Hatter, of course, and it'll soon be clear why. And if you're thinking to yourself, Haley, it's already clear why. It's a Wonderland show. You just wait a minute, okay? And there's no time left to waste, to dilly, or to dally, or to dawdle. Let's get into it. The show opens with a young girl, maybe 7 years old, baby Alice, erupting from the ground into Victorian London after her adventures in Wonderland. She's in her classic, cartoon blue and white Disney dress, and she is played by Millie Bobby Brown in her first ever acting role, her debut. Once Upon a Time launches stardom careers, is what I'm saying. Anyway, young Alice returns home to her father, who says she was gone for a very long time, to the point where they assumed the child was dead. And now they assume she's crazy or just a regular liar. So they do expect you to be coming in with knowledge of the pre-existing Alice in Wonderland story. They are not going to explain to you what happened the first time Alice was in Wonderland. They have no time for that, apparently. Instead, we must zoom forward, looking to the future, where a young woman in her early 20s is in the Bethlehem Asylum, a place she has been kept for nearly a year. We see her with 3 doctors questioning her to determine if she's gotten better in her time there. And the woman they are questioning is, of course, Alice. Now, Alice being questioned by these doctors is causing her to have intense flashbacks of the last times that she was in Wonderland, which means we as the audience get to see some of what happened the last time she was in Wonderland. Again, not when she was a child and how this all started, because I guess none of that matters. But this is also important. We see the caterpillar, voiced by Iggy Pop, as Alice bursts into Wonderland wearing a, quite frankly, god-awful pink butterfly dress. It looks like it was made for a 5-year-old in 2009, not a 20-year-old in whatever year out of time she exists in London that's gonna go on, sword-fighting adventures. And she's got her proof stashed in a bag. She has the White Rabbit stashed in her bag. She's gonna bring it home for her father. The Red Queen's knights are chasing Alice through a hedge maze, and she eats magic food to shrink down real small. Like in Wonderland, so they can no longer follow her. They can't even find her, and she sneaks inside a golden bottle that has seemed to have rolled under one of those hedges to hide even more, opening it up and climbing inside to find a well-decorated room and a man. This man is Cyrus. Cyrus is a genie from Agrabah, and we'll get into the genie stuff more later. I promise, just go with it for now. And Alice threatens to grow really big with other magic food and break his house. But he's a perfect gentleman and a very sweet boy. This is their meet cute. Actually, they go on many adventures after this, and they fall in love. After many of these such adventures, Cyrus even proposes marriage to Alice while they stand on the edge of a cliff above the boiling sea, looking out at floating islands at sunset. It's very beautiful. He literally gets his knee to the ground, doesn't even ask the question, and she says yes immediately before he's had the chance to say a single word. It's very sweet. These two are absolutely saccharine, okay? Their hearts are literally magically intertwined. They've got a magical necklace that will tell them when the other one is nearby. They're perfect. That's what you need to know about Alice and Cyrus right from the get-go. But this most magical of moments is interrupted by the Red Queen, a woman who refuses to hold her mouth in a comfortable position, who only knows how to wear one color, but she absolutely rocks it. They really found someone who looks good in red for this role. Her knights try to take down Alice and Cyrus, but Alice and Cyrus are too strong. They fail. So the Red Queen tosses Cyrus off the edge of the cliff with a bored flick of her magical hand. Truly expressionless the entire time. She says, oops, and then just leaves while Alice screams and sobs. So that's what happened the last time Alice was in Wonderland. But the doctors already knew. Alice still believed everything because Alice still calls out for Cyrus in her sleep, and they ask her permission for a new type of healing to be done to her. And they have her sign a waiver for it, which, okay. They believe her mentally unfit in Victorian England, a mentally unfit woman in Victorian England. No way her signature means anything. You gotta need her father for this, right? Also, their plan, that hewing, is to lobotomize her. Except even worse. The drills that they have at the ready are massive. It looks like they're ready to fully take her brain out of her head. At least parts of her brain. Hey, have you guys ever heard of a little town called Storybrooke, Maine? 'Cause I have. In Storybrooke, Maine, a man we have never seen before in the main show Once Upon a Time is wandering around Main Street in a storm of some sort. The writers will tell you this is the Wraith Storm from the beginning of season 2, if you recall the beginning of season 2. I personally think that's bogus. I don't think that makes any sense, but if we're going to live in their fiction, live in their world, fine. That's the beginning of season 2, and this man almost gets hit by Emma Swan's bug, and Ashley and Leroy are there. That might mean nothing to you, even if you are a fan of regular Once Upon a Time. Ashley Boyd is Once Upon a Time's Cinderella. She was in a couple episodes in season 1 and then pretty much never showed up again. And Leroy is Grumpy the Dwarf. And both of them are some of my absolute favorite Storybrooke townsfolks. I was very excited to see them, but I don't get to put them on the board because they have 10-second cameos and then they're never back. Which is fine. Mystery Man swipes keys to Granny's Diner off of Ashley Boyd, who works there, breaks in. Is it breaking in if you use the keys? If the keys are stolen? He breaks into Granny's Diner and he just makes himself coffee in the middle of the storm. This man has an apartment. He is not destitute. He does not need to be doing this for literally any reason. It's just for the love of the game. His peaceful, illegal coffee making is interrupted when the White Rabbit bursts through the floor. It is so bold for Once Upon a Time, for a Once Upon a Time product to commit to a fully computer-generated character. Only special effects. This is not a man in a suit. This is nothing. This is only computers. And he looks like it, and he's Lord Farquaad. He's voiced by John Lithgow, who also is Lord Farquaad, and I'm not going to lie to you, him being Lord Farquaad did distract me for the entire 13-episode run of the show.
No. We're late for something. We're late for someone. Who? Alice.
The White Rabbit is here to ask our mystery man to help him save Alice. And our mystery man is the Knave of Hearts. And I'm gonna spoil something for you. Because I don't want to call him Knave. I don't like it. Sometimes the other characters call him Knave, even though they know his name. Don't do that. His name is Will. Will Scarlet, actually, which, if you know your Robin Hood lore, Will Scarlet is one of the most prominent figures in The Merry Men. Like, up there with Little John, except Will Scarlet is, like, master swordsman, sometimes a little duplicitous and sneaky, younger, more hot-headed. I read a great book in middle school with a girl, Will Scarlet, and the book was just called Scarlet. I love Will Scarlet. Will Scarlet being a main character in the Wonderland show is a little weird, though. I'm not going to lie to you. It's all Robin Hood and Aladdin over here, baby. And his name's a spoiler because for the first, 2 episodes, they don't tell you his name is Will Scarlet. They don't even tell you his name is Will. And they just call him Knave. I'm not calling him that. So Will shows up to Bethlehem Asylum to break Alice out of there. But Alice is trying to hold fast to, not believing Will or Wonderland is real. But Will says the magic words.
He's alive! Grab your sword. Silence! He's alive.
And Alice starts kicking the shit out of all the orderlies. The doctor, who's real hot for lobotomies, sees the White Rabbit as they escape. So now he's in a real weird place mentally as well. And the White Rabbit makes them all a portal into Wonderland, and all 3 of them jump through, leaving Victorian England far behind. Yes, I didn't specify. Victorian England is its own dimension. Storybrooke, Maine is in our world. Victorian England is just its own extant place, not related to our world, which did once have a Victorian England. So Will has gone to 3 different dimensions today. Busy day. Also, just something fun to keep in mind, if you do know the original Once Upon a Time show, is the whole show gets really funny when you imagine telling the plot of it to Rumpelstiltskin. These bitches are portaling between realms, both magical and non-magical, every other day. He would be so mad. Alice and Will land in a mallow marsh, a swamp where the lake is marshmallows, and Will is immediately so mad that he's existing in fairy tale Wonderland logic again. This man loved modern comforts and consistent laws of physics, and I can't blame him.
I'm gonna die like a bloody small.
A what?
But uh-oh, the rabbit never actually saw Cyrus alive again. It was all hearsay. So they can't even really be sure that Cyrus is okay. That was the thesis of the whole mission, Rabbit. Will would like to dip out of Wonderland right now because he did a lot of crimes here and also hates it so bad. But Alice offers him something very valuable to convince him to stay and help her. She offers him a genie wish. Alice is Cyrus's master, and she carries around the 3 wishes she was granted as little red gems, like physical representations of her wishes. And she is determined to never make any of these wishes because A, genie wishes are very unpredictable, and B, using all 3 of these wishes would release Cyrus from her service and rebind him to the bottle she found him in, just waiting for another master to come pick him up. And she does not want that. Not for selfish reasons where nobody else can have a genie, but because that's her fiance. That's her fiance, and she would very much like if he was not just randomly bound to a bunch of people's service forever and instead could walk around as free as they can get him in his current condition. The White Rabbit apparently heard that Cyrus was hiding out in the Mad Hatter's old house in Tulgey Woods, so that is where Will and Alice are going. Alice climbs up a tree to see if she can see the Mad Hatter's house with a better vantage point, but instead, while she's up there, runs into the Cheshire Cat, who's huge and spooky and voiced by Keith David, but pitched up. They got Keith David to voice the Cheshire Cat in their Wonderland show and then pitched his voice up. Why get Keith David?
I'm a stranger, you're a stranger. Together we are strangers.
Whatever. The Cheshire Cat tries to kill and eat Alice. They defeat him instead, and then we never see the Cheshire Cat again. In our Wonderland show, Will did try to steal the wishes from Alice while she climbed the tree, just take the little gems. But Alice tells him, you can't actually steal a wish. That's not how it works. They have to be granted. You have to be the one who the genie gave the wish to, or that somebody else said you were allowed to have that wish. They can't just be taken like that. So now they're good. They're square. He didn't actually steal the wishes, and they're going to pretend he didn't even try. They continue on their way, and they find the Mad Hatter's house, empty and abandoned. I mean, it's full of hats, but, you get what I mean. There's no Cyrus, and there's no Mad Hatter. Yep, there's no Mad Hatter in this show. You may recall that in Once Upon a Time proper, the Mad Hatter, or Jefferson, was played by Sebastian Stan, who was a perfect sad boy girl dad. But Once Upon a Time in Wonderland came out in 2013, and the first Captain America movie came out in 2011. Sebastian Stan was not reprising his role for a Once Upon a Time spin-off show. The showrunners did still want to have a Mad Hatter and just recast the role, but the backlash to even the idea of that was so much that they simply don't have a Mad Hatter. You can't get Sebastian Stan. You just don't have a Mad Hatter. No Mad Hatter, no Cheshire Cat. This is a cool Wonderland show, guys. It's very, Wonderland feeling. So there's no Cyrus here, but what Alice does find is the magic necklace that represents her and Cyrus's entwined hearts on the ground, so she has a renewed faith that he is alive because he was wearing that necklace when he got knocked off the cliff. Will does not have this renewed faith. This man is a realist, quite possibly actually a pessimist, and he's so real for that. But Alice insists that when you love someone, you don't need proof that they're alive. You just know. Will does agree to keep traveling with her because he's a really good man and he cares about her, or because he really wants that wish. It's up to you. And they walk off through Wonderland with some of the wildest CGI I've ever seen behind them. During this first leg of their adventure, Alice and Will were briefly separated from the White Rabbit, and in that time, he runs into the Red Queen on the road. He's working for her. The Red Queen brings the White Rabbit back to her castle, which is so cool. It's chess pieces. Her castle is chess pieces. The Red Queen's voice is kind of silly, and I'm obsessed with it. She calls everyone darling, and she says Alice with almost a lisp. It's so particular and regal and also goofy as hell. I wish I could imitate it better because I'd never stop doing it.
Darlings, can I be honest with you? Your problems bore me.
And the Red Queen has another, more equal ally, and it's Jafar. Like Aladdin's Jafar? Like, I'm being so serious with you when I say a lot of this show is Aladdin. You're gonna have to get ready for that now. Aladdin himself, not in the show. But there's a lot of genie shenanigans. And we spend a lot of time in Agrabah. Jafar is so sexy. Also, pretty curly hair, lots of leather, cool snake staff, gold eyeliner, fun jewelry. Jafar threatens to kill the Red Queen, goes for the force choke, but she points out that he doesn't actually know where Alice is, and he still needs her. They're working together to get the wishes and to get rid of Alice. And they immediately establish what I would say is a pretty trustworthy dynamic there. I, too, try to murder my buddies on sight. Jafar just flies off on his magic carpet, goes back to his own palace. We also meet the Tweedles in this scene, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. They're also known as Tweedle 1 and Tweedle 2, but I find that a little bit mean to call them. So we'll call them Tweedledee and Tweedledum. They're just the Red Queen's most trusted servants. No, I don't know why their eye makeup is explicitly modeled after David Bowie. I can't explain that to you. Please don't ask me. Cyrus is alive. When the Red Queen threw him off that cliff over the boiling sea, Jafar caught him with the flying carpet and has held him prisoner in a little bird cage prison ever since. It's been a year for Alice. We really don't know how long it's been for Cyrus. I don't know the rate of exchange there, but he's alive! Alice, good news! Flashback! Oh, fucking course this show also can't go 3 minutes without flashbacks. Cyrus and Alice meet cute, extended. How did those lovebirds even happen? Years ago, Jafar was hunting for Cyrus and found him by just looking for who in Agrabah had been unreasonably fortunate lately, because that's the easiest way to track down who's getting genie wishes. The very nice man he tracks down that's just had a lot of good luck lately uses his last wish to send Cyrus far away from Agrabah, and Jafar squishes that man until he stops breathing because he's mad at him. And Cyrus is now teeny tiny and inside his genie bottle again, under the hedges of the maze outside of the Red Queen's castle. And that's where he met Alice, if you remember. She was also teeny tiny and threatening the sanctity of his home. After they meet and she becomes his new master, he gives her the 3 wishes, the little gems, and calls her pretty. And she lets the White Rabbit out of the bag she has him trapped in. It's all great. She's not running home anymore. She has a genie to hang out with. Cyrus also tells her the things that wishes cannot do, okay? He can't kill anyone. He can't bring anyone back from the dead. He can't change the past. And he can't make anyone fall in love. And those last 3 things are just things that all magic can't do. Those are just the laws of magic. Not the killing one, though. That one's just a genie rule, which feels arbitrary. Wishes are dangerous, and big wishes usually come with big consequences. You have to be careful with the wording. And apparently, you also can't wish for the genie's freedom, which feels extra arbitrary, and they only put that in there because it would make the entire plot of this show not happen if she could just do that. So yeah, thank you for making that clear, that we lost that get out of jail free card, but also, hey, that's the one thing I'm doing with my genie wishes when I get them. So what does Alice do? You know already, she simply never makes one of her 3 wishes because that's the closest to freedom they can get him, even though he literally magically cannot disobey her. when she says Genie Master, and is bound to her. They really like each other, and they're both sweet and nice, and power over another person doesn't corrupt, it turns out. So Alice is solid. Cyrus is the one to teach Alice how to fight with a sword. They flirt over origami. They talk about how they both want to see the world and experience it freely. Their first kiss is an extension of tension during a sword fighting lesson. They're just perfect. That's what you need to know about Alice and Cyrus and how they fell in love. They're perfect. And Jafar and the Red Queen hate him really bad. To his credit, Cyrus is very hesitant to actually fall in love with this girl because if she does make her wishes, he'll probably never see her again and just spend the rest of his immortal genie life feeling betrayed. And he knows being with him won't be easy for Alice either because everyone wants their genie wishes. But they're so sickly sweet and happy with each other, and she is so resolute that they just go for it. They go for their happy ending, and they agree mutually to never move on from each other, no matter what. And they bury Cyrus's genie bottle together so no one else can ever get their hands on it or on Cyrus, because if you have the genie bottle, you can use it to summon the genie to you. And they don't want anyone else to have that ability. Quite frankly, I don't think they even really want Alice to have that ability. And the White Rabbit sees them burying the genie bottle and has a like, oh, those crazy kids are really making it work moment. But here and now, in the present day, Cyrus is in a little bird cage suspended above an abyss, clutching his chest and whispering Alice's name because their hearts are intertwined. A concept that's never actually explained to me. It's not the thing that Snow White and Prince Charming did. I know that much for sure, but I also don't know what it actually is. And there's another man in a little cage here, an old man, whose identity is a big secret. And that one I'm not going to spoil for you right away. I just want you to know there's an old man in here that's very worried about Cyrus. He's always asking about how Cyrus is doing and checking up on him. He cares very deeply about Cyrus's well-being. He tries to play chess with Cyrus to get his mind off things. He sort of adopts Cyrus in a way. But Cyrus does not want his mind off things. He wants to write secret messages on secret parchment in his magical anti-magic silver cage that hurts him very badly. Because genies are werewolves, I guess. Not even iron. So they're like fayish, silver like werewolves. Fine. We're gonna leave Cyrus there for a second. We'll come back to the sad man and his secret notes in a bit. Let's bop back to team actually doing stuff with Alice and Will. Their plan is to go get Cyrus's genie bottle, make 3 nothing wishes, and forcibly summon him back that way. So at least he's safe and with them, which I do think is a smart plan. Alice makes some genuinely smart plans, especially at the start here. They leave the White Rabbit behind without telling him they're leaving, which is a crazy thing to do to a friend. Alice is also going around telling everyone they meet where she's going and what she's going there for. She wants everyone to know she's going to a super special tree for a bottle. She's really loud about it. Will spends the entire first leg of their walk trying to bait Alice into an argument, like asking what she's going to do if Cyrus just moved on, or if things are different, or if she's considered that Cyrus hasn't tried to contact her for a reason. And she just yells at him that Will clearly could never understand what she and Cyrus have going on. And then they reach an ocean. And Will Scarlet can't swim. They're going to have to take the ferry. And they do word it like that they have to take the ferry because they want you to think they're talking about a big boat. They are not. They mean F-A-I-R-Y, ferry, a woman with wings, who will carry them across the ocean. And not just any ferry, they are met with Silver Mist? Silver Mist Pixie Hollow? Tinkerbell's water fairy best friend. From my collection of Pixie Hollow chapter books I had as a child, and the online video game Pixie Hollow, Silver Mist? Why is she in Wonderland? Because Tinkerbell lived in the Enchanted Forest. She's from the Enchanted Forest until she ran off to Neverland somehow. I don't think we ever really found out how Tinkerbell got there. But I don't think fairies are native to this plane. Why is Silver Mist in Wonderland? Also, they want me to believe that Silver Mist is romantically interested in men and has been previously scorned by one Will Scarlet. I don't believe that. It's better than, like, Vidya Pixie Hollow being romantically interested in men, but I still don't believe it. Apparently, she caught feelings and he just wanted something physical and eventually, like, snuck off in the night and ghosted her. Very cool, Will. Silver Mist Pixie Hollow slaps Will a couple times and then insists she's a professional and fairy dusts the both of them to carry them across the ocean until Will Scarlet makes a comment that he likes the flying bit, but that he also enjoyed her other bits. And she drops him into the sea. As she should. Why would he say that? Unprompted. Alice follows Will willingly into the water, saves his ass, and pulls them both onto a rock, where Will continues to be weirdly crass about his past relationship with Silver Mist Pixie Hollow, and talks about how it's easy to choose to not be in love. He claims that he doesn't even actually really care about Alice, that he's just here to get his wish. He's a liar, for what it's worth. It's actually hilarious how big of a liar he is. Once you know all his secrets later, so you can hold on to that one if you want. Anyway, the rock that they're on turns out to be a big turtle, and Alice threatens it with violence until it swims them where they want to go. Love a woman who's unafraid to make real threats that she does intend to follow through on. Once they get to the other side, Silver Mist shows up again to say she's glad Will is still alive because she just found out about the massive bounty on his head and she wants to collect it. Will tries to apologize to her, or to get her to at least care about what happens to Alice, because Alice is a good person even if he's a bastard that doesn't feel any feelings anymore. And Silver Mist says his Anastasia used his heart up, but does agree to let them go free. For Alice's sake. Will refuses to comment on this Anastasia character, no matter how nice Alice asks. Now, on the other side of Wonderland, the Red Queen and Jafar are also up to shit, of course. Jafar waltzes into the Red Queen's throne room and freezes all her pleading subjects in place. And they talk about how bad they want power and what their evil plans are. The Red Queen wants Jafar to succeed in what he's doing because she wants him to break all the laws of magic for her so they can bypass things like morals and laws. But we don't know exactly what she wants all that for yet, or him, for that matter. When the Red Queen tells Jafar she can't just stop being the queen to pursue his genie mission for him, he just insta-murders all her subjects that he had frozen. It's such a power move. You're only a queen because I'm allowing you to have living subjects sort of move. That goes hard. Shortly after that, we are treated to so much close-up footage of the Red Queen getting her feet washed. It's just so much more than you think they would casually put in there. It's not plot relevant either. It's just the thing that's happening when the White Rabbit comes in to chat with her. He tells her where the genie bottle is, because the White Rabbit is a coward and a traitor. Jafar finds her gardening, freezes her in place, tells her to stop talking back to him, that they're not equals, they're not partners, they're not friends, and demands the genie bottle's location. So she tells him, and he's off to some fucking tree with an army of scarabs to dig it up for him. Alice and Will watch Jafar do this, and Will earnestly apologizes that they're too late and their plan didn't work. But actually, secretly, this was the plan. The genie bottle is not here. It's not where Alice has been telling everyone they're going, because she's not fucking stupid. She wanted to know who was after them, and she was trying to intentionally draw them to a specific point where she could see them. So now she knows Jafar is looking for Cyrus, or has Cyrus, or is otherwise somehow involved. Know thy enemy. Smart girl. But when Will and Alice go to the actual place where the bottle was buried, a random-ass field with a dandelion bush, a lion-shaped bush made of dandelions, it's gone. Because the White Rabbit knew where it was, and the Red Queen just lied to Jafar. Get him. Get him! So now Jafar is yelling at Cyrus, who just barely finished sending a secret note folded into an origami bird off for Alice. Jafar is force choking Cyrus. Cyrus is daring Jafar to kill him. And here comes the Red Queen, happily proclaiming that she has the genie bottle. She objectifies Cyrus for a minute and tells Jafar the new rule is he can't just be mean to her and expect her to be okay with it. Especially now that they each have half of the equation. He has the genie, she has the bottle. Also, when the White Rabbit is like, I did my job, can I please go now? And you can give me what you promised me for betraying my friends? She tells him no, because she hasn't seen her evil plan come to fruition yet. But we don't know what she has that the White Rabbit wants, and we still don't even really know what it is that she wants. Jafar doesn't suffocate Cyrus either. The genie is fine. Will and Alice have a heart-to-heart. He apologizes for trying to fight with her for no reason about love, because while he insists he does know things about love, he doesn't know about her and Cyrus. Not really. And he knows Cyrus won't have moved on, because that's not what you do when you really love someone. And Alice responds by saying her father moved on from her, but doesn't get a chance to elaborate before an origami bird swoops in. Cyrus's note to Alice is a poetic, flowery thing, begging her to go home and be safe, to leave him here so that she might still live. The best gift she could give to him is not hunting him down and gaining him his freedom. It is keeping herself safe and alive. She simply flips the paper over, writes, "I'm coming for you," on the back of it, and sends it towards him. That's my girl. And this is finally the point of the show where they tell you the Knave of Hearts is Will Scarlet. You get this far before they're like, by the way, his name is Will. His name's not Knave. His name is William. And we get some of his backstory. Yay, backstory. It's just labeled a few years ago in the Enchanted Forest. As though I've ever asked for an idea of how many years ago something was. Don't tease me with a few. Also, this is pre-Dark Curse. He lived dark cursed for 28 years. A few? Little John and some other merry men pretend they need help on the side of the road to distract a carriage of wealthy men, while another merry man lowers from a tree to steal from the carriage from above, and they all celebrate their score around a fire. And you know who's here? Robin Hood. My man, my man, my man. So I guess technically there's two characters from the original show that have plot relevant roles. I don't even know if I count Robin Hood as being plot relevant here. Kind of. And that merry man that lowered from a tree, that's Will Scarlet in actual fairy tale land clothes. Finally. He looks great in them. He really does. And he's officially, in this flashback, a part of the merry men. They make him bleed into a fire and hear a little sanctimonious Robin Hood speech and everything. Robin Hood wants to move the group to a new location, but Will wants to sweep through Maleficent's castle on the Forbidden Mountain. His plan, that he presents to Robin Hood, is to avoid all the magical items, don't touch anything cursed or dangerous, but go for her gold stash. She doesn't care about it anyway, and the sorcerer's not even home. Will's got everything planned out. They just need to execute it. Also, Will loves stealing. He absolutely adores stealing. But what does he love more? His girl back home, baby. He's actually only pretending to be a merry man so he can get him and his girl what they need to escape the Enchanted Forest and start a new life altogether. So, does Will only go for the gold in Maleficent's castle? Of course he doesn't. The other merry men do. They're on target. They're on task. Will, on the other hand, grabs himself a special little looking glass. And when the merry men celebrate this score around a campfire, Maleficent speaks to them through the sky and the trees, demanding they return the non-gold loot that they took, because that item will only bring them misery. And Robin Hood is furious that someone disobeyed the mission, but no one's fessing up to it. Instead, Will just leaves the merry men in the middle of the night, and Robin catches him in the attempt, but does not punish him or yell at him, just tells him that he will meet whatever fate he's earned. Will scorns Robin Hood's code and makes it very clear that he thinks Robin Hood is kind of a pretentious asshole who doesn't think of himself as a thief, even though he's clearly a thief. And then he just goes And Robin Hood lets him. Great, he was a merry man in the past. Let's go back to our present day nonsense. Alice and Will talk about Will's extensive list of crimes on his wanted posters while they're on a crazy CG road that I honestly wouldn't hate. I wouldn't hate this road if we didn't spend so much time in the show in regular forest. There are two modes, okay? It's regular forest, sometimes with big prop mushrooms in it, or this crazy looking road. That's it. Neither of those read very Wonderland to me. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's the Red Queen's cool castle, there's a couple of villages, there's Jafar's palace, but the main traveling places, neither of which feel like the place we're supposed to be in. And it bothers me. Alice is very upset that they didn't get to the place where the bottle was actually stored a little bit sooner so they could at least see who took it. And Will remembers a magical item called the Forget-Me-Not, not spelled K-N-O-T, like a knot, that allows you to look through it and into the past. And if they get it, they could just look through it and see who it was that took their bottle. Issue, the Forget-Me-Not is currently with the caterpillar. Will is trying to very much act like this is not an issue, even though the caterpillar is the one offering the bounty on his head. He's just going to walk in there and make a deal with the man, the bug, the caterpillar. Alice does get him to at least agree to let her come with if he's on this terribly ill-advised mission. Look at the way the mushroom house prop shakes when Will opens the door, by the way. That thing is made out of balsa wood and dreams. They didn't even paint it to cover the wood grain of whatever it was they actually used. Why does it wobble like that? Once Upon a Time usually has their prop department on lock. They're now in the Underland, where the caterpillar is in charge. It looks like a halfway outdoor bar, and that's like it. And the people are immediately mad at Will for existing in front of them.
Nazim, pleasure to see you again.
Don't pleasure me.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Alice starts threatening the crowd with swords, and now the crowd is threatening Alice and Will with swords, and then the caterpillar interrupts from his little gazebo that he's sitting in, and he's also so terrible to look at. I haven't really gotten into it, but his teeny tiny head and his little fez are really upsetting, and honestly, his little pinchy hands are also pretty bad. The caterpillar does not have the knot, and Will strikes a deal with him. If Will and Alice get the Forget-Me-Not and return it to him, the caterpillar will erase all of Will's debts. They just have to get it from the Grendel, a monster who lives in the Whispering Woods. Also, if Will fails, the caterpillar is going to behead Will and keep his head on his desk forever, which, if you'll recall, is not something that kills you in Wonderland. You're a sentient head. You're bodiless. Now Alice and Will are looking for the Grendel. They argue about morals in the woods until they find his house. Alice wants to go in swords blazing, but Will convinces her to let him make a distraction. Draw the Grendel out so she can just sneak in and get what they need. And then they fall down a pit. And it doesn't matter anyway. They wake up, tied up in the Grendel's kitchen. He's a big, deformed man, all lumpy and growly, and he's pretty clearly moving about the space like he's planning to eat them. But Alice still does not want to use a wish to get them out of this situation. They see the Grendel is talking to the Forget-Me-Not, or more importantly, to someone he is seeing through the knot. It's an old projection of his long-dead wife from before he was cursed and monstrous. You can even see the pre-curse version of the Grendel interacting with his wife there. Will yells out, compliments the pretty woman, and asks about her, and tells the Grendel that he can relate to losing someone that you love, and that the way the Grendel looks, monstrous and cursed, is the way that Will feels. And that keeping that Forget-Me-Not around is hurting him too much. And to move on from this, to really heal, the Grendel's going to have to let go of that hurt. But the Grendel doesn't want to move on, doesn't want to live past this moment of pain. He wants to keep looking at his dead wife. So he's going to move forward with the eating them plan. Will's trying to get them out of their ropes. Alice is just trying to get Will to tell her things about Anastasia. But eventually, Alice does get them out of their binds by using the wishes. Like the physical little red gems that represent the wishes. She cuts through the rope with them. They open the door to leave the Grendel's house, but the Bandersnatch is on the other side of the door. The what? Yeah, back at Jafar's palace, Jafar and the Red Queen invited Cyrus for a meal, which by that I mean they lowered his cage down a little so he was at eye level with them while they ate a meal. That's also where they reveal that Jafar intercepted Alice's return letter. And Cyrus is not particularly impressed at their over-the-top villaining in front of his salad. But then they start flipping through a book of monsters they could summon to make Alice so afraid that she'll have to start making wishes. They skip past the Sarlacc and they land on the Bandersnatch because Cyrus starts to look really worried when they present that as an option, so that's gotta be what they go with. Jafar tells the Red Queen that she's hot and complicated, and she takes them to where the Bandersnatch hides out so they can give it Alice's scent. And it's off, pursuing the girl! The Bandersnatch tears through the Grendel's house, and Alice and Will use the Forget-Me-Not to trick the Bandersnatch into thinking, they're over there, because when he looks through it, he sees them, but actually they're all the way over there. They've already moved. And then they use the Forget-Me-Not to trap it, using it like a lasso or a noose. It's just a big circle of rope. The Bandersnatch, caught up this way, almost kills the Grendel, but Will steps in and kills the Bandersnatch instead. No wishes needed. Just good old-fashioned knives. Cyrus knew Alice would be able to defeat the Bandersnatch. He taught her all about their weaknesses after she learned that she was attacked by one as a child, and he manipulated Jafar intentionally into sending that specific monster that he knew she could handle. The Grendel is grateful to be alive, but the Forget-Me-Not will no longer show his wife because that's not the most recent thing that was seen in the place it was set. The Grendel also originally stole the knot from the Red Queen so that he could see his wife again, but she caught him and cursed him with his monstrous form for stealing. The Grendel gives them the Forget-Me-Not because it means nothing to him now that he can't see his wife, and he lets them leave. Gives them well wishes on their way. Later, the Red Queen and Jafar visit the Grendel to ask, who was visiting and who killed the Bandersnatch. In return for this information, they will maybe, possibly, reunite him with his wife. The one thing he wants. So the Grendel happily tells them that it was a young woman and a man that she called Knave, and Jafar does reunite him with his wife. Immediately and violently. On the road, Alice really does still want to hear more about Anastasia, but Will insists it doesn't matter. She's gone. We don't need to talk about that anymore. And they get back to the Dandelion, look through their Forget-Me-Not, and they see the White Rabbit pulled the genie bottle out of the ground and handed it directly to the Red Queen. So now they know the White Rabbit is a coward and a traitor. So they'll need to confront the Red Queen directly. Also, Will chooses to not hand over the knot to the caterpillar. He says if he turns it in, that means he stole it for himself, which makes him a thief. But he isn't a thief if he stole it for Alice? For someone who is so mad about the Merry Men Code of Ethics, someone is really buying in too late. He burns the knot and destroys it. However, somebody does still visit the caterpillar. Jafar goes seeking information on this mysterious Knave. And I never finished explaining Will's flashback. That looking glass he stole from Maleficent. He brings it back to his girl. She runs out of the house in a pretty pastel pink outfit and a wide smile and a bordering on northern accent that matches his. It's Anastasia. And Anastasia is the Red Queen. They're in love, and they're running away to Wonderland together through the looking glass to escape her cruel mother. Her mother straight up tells them to never come back unless they want to come back groveling and subservient. So through the glass they go. Her mom really hates Will. She really wanted to marry her daughter off into royalty, which... doesn't that sound familiar? Once Upon a Time only knows one thing. I cannot tell you how delighted I was when I realized that flashback Anastasia's accent is super close to Will's Northern Midlands, Sheffield, Derbyshire accent.
Just the bones. We could soak them in water long enough and call it soup.
She's just 100% faking her weird queen accent. It's so funny. I love her so much. It's been so hard to try and hold back how obsessed I am with Anastasia so we could organically get to this reveal, but I'm so obsessed with Anastasia. They do such dramatic close-ups on Will and Anastasia's faces whenever someone mentions the other one in their presence, by the way. But I didn't have a good way to mention that without 100% spoiling it, like making it too obvious. The Grendel said the word knave, and the camera rushed in to show you the Red Queen looking upset about it. Will sees the Red Queen through the forget-me-not and just stares at her for a little while as he absentmindedly tells Alice, you'd be surprised at the people in your life who will betray you. I want to eat them. This is the show to me. They are the show to me. We have finally reached the show, as far as I am concerned. But now we're talking about Jafar backstory, and I'll admit, I do also want to climb the walls about Jafar. Agrabah flashback. Many years ago, it says, not just a few, but if a few means like 30, the hell do you mean by many? Young orphan Jafar, about 10 years old, works for a cruel man in the marketplace who starves him when he forgets simple tasks and generally mistreats him otherwise, when one day, a beautiful woman slowly walks through the market. Everyone else hides from her, cowers from the magical abilities that she casually flaunts, and they warn each other not to meet her eyes. But Jafar and her watch each other for a minute. They lock eyes, make eye contact, and she does not move against him in any way. No warnings come to fruition. She just does her shopping over the crouching and cowering masses. Jafar goes to the woman's home that night, begging her to teach him dark magic. Not just magic, mind you, dark magic specifically, because he wants revenge on his father, the Sultan himself. He's a bastard of the Sultan, abandoned at birth to just him and his mother, and he's full of hatred and rage. This woman, Amara, agrees to teach him and takes him in, presumably raising him and mentoring him, because the next time we see him, we see older adult Jafar. Adult Jafar is making friends with a shepherd that was watching their goats, and he gives him a skein of wine that was set aside for him. Amara is inside with her magic book of dark spells, so excited to tell Jafar they will finally be able to learn a spell he's been so eager to get to, but they couldn't do it before because they didn't have a human liver. She poisoned the wine for the shepherd, the very nice, innocent shepherd, and she makes Jafar choose between learning the magic that he's so desperate for or saving an innocent man. He lets the shepherd die. Amara says that this makes him reborn, and they... No. Hey, guys, what? Why? She met that boy when he was 10 years old, took him in as an apprentice, taught him everything he knows. I assume he lived in her house. I assume she was raising him like a son, perhaps. Why does it have to be a romantic thing? Even if it's not romantic, why is it a physical thing? Why is she doing this? Why is he doing this? I mean, I know why he's doing this. Our boy got, turbo groomed, put all his faith and future into this beautiful older woman that was everything he wanted, and she shapes him into a good little magician and murderer that she can also smooch? Ew! Amara, they will never get me on your side. I will always be preying on your downfall. Amara finally tells Jafar what it is she's been after all these years. Genies. 3 genies. If they get all 3, they can cast a spell that still requires 2 casters and will allow them to become the most powerful magicians ever. They could change the laws of magic themselves and do whatever they want. Jafar gets all misty-eyed at her kindness and her belief in him, and she tells him she loves him, and ew. Jafar hunts one of the genies down to some tavern or bar, and the owner still has 1 genie wish left and doesn't want to just give it up. Jafar makes some pretty clear threats, even though he can't kill the man if he wants to become the new genie master. So instead, he stabs through both the man's hands And the man makes his last wish, his wish being that Jafar can do him no harm, which is actually a great way to word it because it makes the stab wounds in his hands vanish as well. The man's genie is immediately transported back into its bottle, which Jafar just picks up and heads out with. The man, the barkeep tavern owner, makes a rude comment about how Jafar should go back to the gutter he came from, and in strides Amara to do mean magic spells to the man, and then comments that they're only one bottle away. So I guess they got the first genie off screen. That's fine. This isn't important or anything. Jafar is the one who gets the lead on the third genie, on Cyrus. And after telling Amara that, he poisons her with wine spiked with a potion meant to extract her magical essence. She pleads with him, saying that how could he do this? He loved her. And he says no, but she loved him. I don't think either of you loved each other, actually. I think this was just maybe the world's worst situation. Jafar turns the poisoned and weakened and dying Amara into a snake, because she really likes snakes, and then turns that snake into a staff. The staff he carries around has been a woman this whole time. His teacher / lover / mentor / bad lady. He's been Amara the whole time. In the present, we see Jafar teleport into the Red Queen's throne room, and where are his curls? They gave him a haircut in between episodes, like a drastic one. They let him keep his pretty gold eyeliner at least, but they cut his pretty curls. And he keeps this new hair for the rest of the show. Anyway, he's here to demand that the Red Queen kill the knave to remove him from the playing field so he stops getting in the way and causing problems. One of the Red Queen's Tweedledum, is also feeding Jafar information about her whereabouts and her plans. It's very dramatic. He has a mole on the inside named Tweedledum. Over in Wonderland's Team Good Guy, Will wants to use what they know about the White Rabbit to their advantage to maybe trick the rabbit into giving them, what they want and helping them out. But Alice wants to shake the rabbit physically until he explains himself. I do love this consistent bit of characterization for them. Alice wants to solve every problem with the hands. The caterpillar's collectors, his sort of militia, are after them and they have to run for their lives. Will draws them away, telling Alice they'll meet again in Tulgi, and someone else swoops in to save Will's life. The Red Queen herself, Anastasia. She does immediately imprison him in her dungeons.
So what did your girlfriend Alice offer you that was enticing enough for you to overcome your survival instincts?
She's not my girlfriend. I'm clearly not attracted to nice, normal women.
Jafar shows up to congratulate her on the capture, but that's actually not what he asked her to do to the knave, and now demands a public execution. She wants to keep him alive. She won't tell Jafar why. It's probably just because it's tactical. It's tactically a good idea to keep Will Scarlet alive, and he implies that she's compromised and not willing to do what it takes. And she just watches him scold her, visibly on the verge of tears. She's always about to cry. Will Scarlet's public execution is planned to go ahead, but actually, Anastasia goes into the dungeons and tells Will that the White Rabbit will be coming for him any moment to take him away and out of Wonderland so that she doesn't have to kill him in front of a crowd. She tells Will he gets to escape. And he claims he's not going anywhere. That he's being a fool because she made him one. And literally, actually, dares her to kill him. She genuinely tries to give him a get out of jail free card. And he dares her to kill him about it. He's the world's dumbest man. Safely on the road, Alice meets Elizabeth. Well, her name's Elizabeth, but everyone just calls her Lizard. She's one of the caterpillar's collectors, and she's the one who tells Alice that the Red Queen got her hands on Will. Lizard tells Alice to please not go confront the Red Queen by herself. Instead, Lizard's gonna come with. They're buddies now. Lizard's doing this because Will took her in years back, taught her everything she knows about thieving. They ran together as thieves for years after Will kind of spiraled. After the whole Anastasia thing. Not took her in, like, as a child, by the way. I have to specify this shit now. Thanks, Amara. He just took her, like, under his wing. All right? Kept her safe on the road. They find a poster saying Will is going to be publicly executed today. And they go to attend said execution. The crowd for the execution is weirdly small. I'm pretty sure they just did not have the budget for extras. This show really could have thrived with some of that Once Upon a Time season 1 or 2 budget. Would have done them good. Even now, Jafar and the Red Queen continue to snipe at each other about how they don't trust each other. Even when they learn Alice is here, in the crowd, they're just continuing to be mean to each other. Will is dragged to the chopping block, but the masked executioner doesn't cut off his head. They cut through his ropes. It's Alice! Freeing him, they escape on a catapult that was going to launch Will's detached head a comically long distance, but instead it's, I guess, equally as calibrated for 2 full human beings. And now they're loose in the Red Queen's hedge mazes with Lizard. Jafar swoops in on his flying carpet. The Red Queen marches in with her Tweedles and her guard. Jafar force throws Lizard into the hedges as hard as he can. The others assume she dies. That's how hard he throws her. And then he starts force choking Will Scarlet. Will calls for Anastasia as he's suffocating to death. And the Red Queen snaps at Alice to please make a wish. Want to use one of your wishes to save him? Alice does use a wish to save him. Her wish is that if the Knave of Hearts dies, she dies too. And if she dies, Jafar doesn't get the genie. So he stops suffocating the man. And instead, Jafar begins slowly stretching Alice's limbs away from her body, threatening to literally draw and quarter her with his magic. It's genuinely brutal. The sounds are rough, and it goes on for a while. Eventually, he just gives up and lets her down, but then turns Will to stone right then and there. He's a statue now. Not technically harmed. He's not dead. He's just made of rocks. Jafar's not going to threaten Alice anymore, and just all her friends and everything that, she loves. Because that's what she's willing to wish for. Not herself, but other people. Because she's a good person like that. And then Jafar flies off on his magic carpet. Alice asks the Red Queen to help Will and also fully slaps the woman, the whole queen. But Anastasia won't help Will. She says Alice has to be the one to do it with her wishes. And also explicitly says that Alice was a little girl when they first met. So I guess Anastasia has been the Red Queen for at least 15 years. She's got to have some of that anti-aging magic they seem to give all the sorcerers around here. Unless Wonderland is just like that. Will was in Storybrooke, so that's why he hasn't. What is her excuse? Also, does time pass here the same as it does in Storybrooke? Because then it's been 30 years. I don't know. No one knows. And then the Red Queen just leaves Alice there, staring at the statue of Will. But later, Lizard, who didn't die, by the way, she's fine, guys. Thanks for checking. Lizard sees Anastasia staring at that statue, too, when she thinks no one's watching. All I do is go crazy about these two. Over in Jafar's weird hanging abyss prison, Cyrus begs a guard for just the scraps of his meal, secretly after the wishbone from his dinner. He gets it, and he snaps the wishbone in two, and then spends a long time sharpening one side of it until a different guard catches him and drops that sharpened bit of bone into the abyss, leaving Cyrus with only one half of a wishbone. Jafar comes in to taunt Cyrus some more and makes some pointed eye contact with that nameless old man, and he leaves again, and then Cyrus gives that old man a speech about wishbones and magic, saying that all wishbones want is to be rejoined with their other half, just like people. And he holds the half of the wishbone he still has, okay, to the floor of his little bird cage. And the other half, the lost half, flies upwards through the air, attempting to meet its mate through the metal with such force that it melts through the bottom of the cage. He is cutting through the floor of his prison with wishbone magic. Cyrus is gonna get out of here, baby, and maybe he'll finally be interesting. But Cyrus, step aside. I get to talk about Anastasia and Will a bunch to answer the question that you've probably been asking yourself. How did she end up the Red Queen if she was happily in love with a merry man? I'm so glad you asked. The answer is really dumb and very funny to me. Determined to be happy and in love at the cost of everything else, Anastasia and Will Scarlet escape the Enchanted Forest into Wonderland, Will resolutely promising to build Anastasia a life brick by brick. They're in Wonderland together now, and they are struggling. They can't always find enough to eat. They live in a tiny wagon tucked away in the trees. It isn't a luxurious life. It isn't comfortable, and they aren't always sure how they're going to make it. But they have each other, and they're in love. And one day, a huge cart full of food rides by for a big party at the palace. And Anastasia says they should sneak into the party themselves, primarily just to eat and take some food back with them. They borrow themselves some clothes and infiltrate the party. Anastasia's so excited to pretend to be a fancy lady for a night. Her dress is not good. It's not what I think of when I think of Wonderland. It's not even what I think of when I think of fairy tale. It's pretty, I guess. Will looks great. At this party, Anastasia overhears a single person with a very posh accent calling someone darling and immediately starts repeating it to herself, practicing the cadence of their speech, and then uses that accent on a man she accidentally bumps into that turns out to be the Red King, the host of this little shindig. He gets her a drink, asks why he's never seen her around here before. She sort of flirts back, and they're interrupted by Will Scarlet getting caught with a forged invitation. And then someone in the crowd recognizes Anastasia's stolen dress, and they are thrown out of the party. Will still considers it a success because he grabbed a couple loaves of bread before he got grabbed, so they're gonna eat for the next few days, baby. But Anastasia has gotten a taste of the kind of life she dreamed of having in Wonderland, and she's gotten despondent. She's actually wanting to go home to the Enchanted Forest to her awful mother, which Will dismisses out of hand. They're not doing that. So then Anna comes up with a plan to steal the crown jewels that she saw in the Red King's palace, take them back to the Enchanted Forest, sell them there where no one's going to recognize them, and get themselves a good life with one last score. Will's unhappy hearing all of this because he didn't know how unhappy Anna had actually been. Because being in love doesn't put food on the table, William. And hope doesn't keep you warm. So Anna goes a-stealin', with Will waiting beneath a balcony to, I guess, catch the jewels. But Anastasia gets greedy. She really takes her time with this one, and she's caught by the Red King. Instead of, having her punished, and literally anyway, for doing a crime, the Red King says, what if the jewels just belonged to Anastasia? She doesn't have to steal them. They could be hers. He instantly proposes to her. My man, I know she's pretty. I know it. I've got eyes too. But this woman is robbing you actively. You have no self-preservation skills. She says that she loves someone else, and the king is like, okay, but he's poor. She doesn't have a good response to that one. So what does Will see as he waits for Anastasia to finish their crime? The Red King appearing in the balcony above with Anastasia on his arm, absolutely covered in jewels, being announced as the new queen. Me personally, if that's my thief girlfriend, I'm assuming this is a new part of the scheme. Like she yes-anded a little too hard, and now she's in a super weird spot that she might need my help getting out of. Like, good job leaning in, babe. You're being very convincing. I will wait nearby until you smuggle all that outside in a couple of nights, now including that very fancy dress you have on. Grab us some cutlery on your way out, would you? I bet it's real silver. Will seems pretty sad, though. Like, he's pretty ready to believe she's just randomly leaving him for this king. And she is, but like, so that's how she becomes the Red Queen. Is that not so silly? I'm obsessed with her. Why did she go along with that? In the present day Wonderland, Alice covers the Will statue with a blanket to keep him safe and warm, blaming herself for getting him into this predicament, promising to get him out of it when the Red Queen sashays in. She offers to tell Alice where Cyrus is in exchange for help getting something she needs to protect herself from Jafar. She's after some special magic dust that can protect her from dark magic so that at the end of everything, you know, she can ward off the dark magician she's been allying with. Alice wants to solve this problem with her sword, always, but she does agree to go along with it because the Red Queen is actually her best chance at getting to Cyrus by a long shot. They go to a magical gorge. Anastasia says Alice has to cross the ravine to get the fancy dust, and they find a plaque saying the pure of heart shall make the leap, implying some test of virtue, which is why Anastasia needs Alice for this, presumably. Alice thinks this might be a literal leap of faith, so she holds on to the purest thing she has faith in, her love for Cyrus, and her feet meet an invisible bridge. She begins to walk across, but her foot finds a space with no resistance, and she falls to the bottom of a ravine. She's fine. It's just her, some skeletons, and a fucked up vision of herself as a child down there. Little Alice, Millie Bobby Brown, with dark circles under her eyes and very unbrushed hair, saying she's here to help. Little Alice stomps and stomps, shaking the earth until the Red Queen falls into the ravine with them, giving Big Alice the chance to kill her. Little Alice can also just tell Big Alice where Cyrus is if Alice wants to go ahead and kill the queen. And little Alice is just there taunting and convincing and pushing. Alice does not kill the Red Queen, but there's a huge fake out where she swings her sword at her and everything. Really unnecessary. And then little Alice is looking healthy and clean because Big Alice passed the test. She's pure of heart. Because she didn't murder a woman in cold blood when given the chance. Goddamn, if that's all it takes, I'm the purest of heart there is. I'm very conflict avoidant. Little baby Alice dissolves into the magic dust, and Alice collects it to take back with them. When they get back out of the ravine, the Red Queen steals the dust pouch back from Alice and doesn't tell Alice anything about Cyrus. Just gives a little monologue about how her life has been hard. Alice does still have a handful of dust. There was a lot of dust. It wasn't hard for them both to have the super special magic dust. And Anastasia instantly uses her super special magic dust. She didn't want it to be safe from Jafar at the end of all of this. She instead apologizes to the statue of her ex-boyfriend in her hedge maze, pours the magic dust all over him, and runs off before he's a real boy again so he doesn't know it was her that brought him back. And Alice instantly uses her dust as well, blowing it into the breeze to reveal where Jafar's castle is, cloaked in the distance. So now she knows where Cyrus is. And where is Cyrus, actually? Over in Jafar's castle, there's been a couple different goings-ons. The old man prisoner, turns out, is getting regularly tortured with random hard labor, and he gets thrown back into his cage. But Cyrus has a plan to get them both out of here. The old man knows the layout of the building and outlines it to Cyrus, but he does note the lack of a major guard presence here, which worries him that there's something more dangerous outside. But either way, the plan is to leave at night. Sneak out while it's dark. Cyrus slips out of his little cage, pushes their only guard into the abyss, and he's out! He's out after 5, I'm not kidding, 5 episodes of this man exclusively in a little cage. Cyrus throws the keys to the cages back to the old man, who does manage to catch them, and then the man proceeds to drop the keys into the abyss. Because he doesn't want to slow Cyrus down, and he's confident that Jafar is not going to kill him in any sort of retaliation. So off Cyrus goes, reluctantly. But still, he's in the sunlight. Cyrus is outside. But where was Jafar during all that? Doing schemes. Jafar speaks with the White Rabbit in his little underground lair he has full of all his trinkets, offering to help the rabbit with his debt to the Red Queen in return for help with Alice. Jafar wants to know everything about her, all her possible weaknesses. The rabbit, of course, goes along with it because he's a coward and a traitor. He does try to give Jafar, banal, harmless information, which frustrates Mr. Wizard to the point that he chops off the White Rabbit's foot and puts him on a timer for when he'll be unable to successfully reattach the foot. And the White Rabbit gives Jafar the information that he wants pretty quickly. There is someone that Alice loves that could be a weakness of hers, but they aren't in Wonderland, so it doesn't even matter, Jafar. Except that he makes the White Rabbit dig a portal to Victorian England, my favorite dimension. Jafar and the White Rabbit explode into Victorian England, where Jafar immediately takes a man's clothes because his robes don't exactly blend in. He looks great in the suit, in case you were wondering. I feel like he could have magically sort of illusioned his clothes to look Victorian. I feel like he didn't actually have to steal a random man's clothes. You're like a sorcerer. And then he runs off to Bethlehem Asylum, where Alice was held, where that doctor that wanted to remove Alice's brain and then saw the White Rabbit during her escape is actively poisoning himself with laudanum. Like he's drinking it straight. That's too much opium, dude. Don't do that. Jafar lies about being a doctor that needs to know more things about Alice, and evil doctor tries to say he doesn't remember any Alice until Jafar brings out the White Rabbit to really, 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 really upset this man. So now Jafar is getting all the information that Alice's doctors ever learned about her, and then he goes to her father's home, telling him he knows where Alice went after escaping the asylum, and he can take him there. Her dad's name is Edwin, by the way. But let's talk a little more about Alice and Edwin's relationship with a little bit of flashback information. 1 year ago, Alice exploded back into Victorian England after losing Cyrus to that cliff in the boiling sea in Wonderland, you remember. After that, after she explodes, and she's still sobbing because she just lost her fiancé, a little girl approaches her, and it turns out to be her new half-sister, Millie. Her father has remarried a woman named Sarah, who absolutely cannot stand Alice, even a little bit. Alice tells her father about what happened, about what she's lost, but obviously no one believes her. Alice is hurt by that, but is way more hurt by the fact that her father moved on from her mother and also never told his new daughter that she existed at all. Oof! Edwin and Sarah say that Alice can stay, but she cannot talk about Wonderland anymore because Millie is so young and impressionable. So Alice has to reintegrate into polite society, meet a nice young man, get engaged, all of that. But she doesn't want to be happy without Cyrus. And she doesn't even think it's possible. Her father won't hear it. He insists he's happy to see her, that he did miss her, but he's not acting like it. I do love seeing Alice in actual Victorian dress, by the way, even though she's miserable in every scene she's wearing it in. It's so much better than her Wonderland outfit, which I haven't even talked about. Her Wonderland outfit pisses me off. That purple leather vest they've got her in over the 2012 pastel blue bohemian lace with the like bell sleeves. Ugh. And the leggings. Ugh. Where did she even get those clothes? They don't work. They don't fit the setting. They tell me nothing about her character. They're disgusting. Get them away from me. Back on topic, Alice, Victorian dress, miserable. She literally shatters a glass in her hand while dissociating as her father and stepmother discuss her marriage prospects. Her nightmares wake up the child. She screams at a young man they bring by the house. She is not behaving to their standards. She wants to be happy, like she's trying to be happy. It's not working, but it was also in the past. And we're here to talk about the now. Like the now where the Red Queen goes looking for Jafar and discovers that not only is Jafar not home, the genie is gone. And the old man is not telling about what happened, even when the Red Queen starts smashing him around his little cage with the force. He's not spilling. Cyrus, for his part, is rock climbing away from the castle, and the Red Queen loses her big outer layer of cloak so she can pursue Cyrus on her own, on foot. She slaps her Tweedle for underestimating her, and she's off. Cyrus tries to lay fake footprints, fake tracks, and while it throws off Jafar's team of guards, it does not fool Anastasia. She uses magic to follow his real path, which is cheating, but it does work. The Red Queen finds Cyrus at the edge of a cliff. Jafar lives on one of them big floating islands around Wonderland, and there is no way out of here except for a very, very, very long fall. And the Red Queen is there to watch Cyrus just jump off the side. He's gonna go get his girl. His girl that is off sword fighting in the woods. A couple of ruffians in the forest tried to steal Alice's glowing necklace, the necklace that is hers and Cyrus's intertwined hearts. Again, I don't get it. And so she sword fights them and then continues on her way, heading towards the Black Forest, ignoring all of the giant literal warning signs, posted signage telling her not to do that. I do love how much Alice loves hurting people with her sword. The literal criminal thief she travels with is so desperate to soothe every problem with words or sneakery, and she just wants to put her hands on everybody. Alice goes through some sort of opening or portal that is so dark the darkness is solid, and just continues on her way. It is, in fact, very dark in there, and the darkness sort of eats the fire of her torch, but once her torch goes out, a bright light appears up ahead, and she runs towards it, and through another solid sort of portal, into a beautiful, blooming grove of trees, where large purple flowers shoot purple glitter all over your face. And a man called the Carpenter dreamily tells her that this place, the Boro Grove, is great. He asks her to stay a while, and she suddenly loses all her convictions to save someone's life and go about her important business. Also, she can't actually remember the genie's name anymore, or why she was looking for him, or what she was really doing in the first place, so she might as well stay in this really beautiful place that feels so nice. Away from there, a freshly unstatued Will gets some water from a passing kind man on the road.
You don't look too good.
You ever been stoned? Feels like death when you come out of it.
Maybe you've been messing with the wrong stuff.
No, I mean stoned as in turned to stone.
Sure.
He then also runs into those same ruffians who claim Alice attacked them while they were sleeping. And he pretty clearly sees through all that, but he's not excited to hear she's gone for the Black Forest. There was a dark jungle in Once Upon a Time in Neverland. I just feel like this is essentially the same name for a place. Like they just did the same name twice. Will shows up in the Boro Grove and absolutely hates all the flower glitter, gets it away from his face, and Alice bounds towards him, so excited to see him and so happy for him to see how great it is here. She shows off a little art piece that she made using her sword and her necklace stuck into the ground. And she can't remember how long she's been in the grove, and she doesn't think she's acting strangely at all. She's just happy. Can't he be happy for her? Will is pretty sure the carpenter is doing something to Alice, but he pretty quickly realizes the man is in the process of turning into a tree. And every tree in this grove has a humanoid face trapped in its bark. So if they stay, they're going to be trees too. He goes to warn Alice, but when he calls her name, she doesn't know who he's talking to. He tries to take her out of the grove by force, but she starts swinging on him with her sword. And he tells her he can't let this happen to her because he feels like he owes her. He had his heart taken from him once, and she got it back for him, but he hasn't used it properly since, and it feels like he's wasted her gift to him. So he can't just sit back and let her waste her chance at a happy ending by getting stuck here forever. This is all news to us, by the way, that she got his heart back for him once. News. She starts to turn into a tree, and Will realizes he can't make Alice leave. She has to make the choice herself. So he tells her about Cyrus and about how the Alice he knows would never give up on real happiness for a fake tree version of happiness. She gets a hold of the necklace, remembers Cyrus, and snaps out of it. She doesn't want a substitute for her happy ending. She wants her happy ending. They escape the Boro Grove, and Alice asks what Will meant by the comment that he wasn't using his heart properly. And I kid you not, Will, Scarlet, never put his heart back in his chest. It was taken from him. Alice went on a quest to get it back. And by then, he was used to feeling empty and knew he wouldn't be able to stand feeling heartbreak and loss all over again. So he just never put it back in. Avoidant attachment style king. My depressed, apathetic knight. He drives me crazy. Him and Anastasia drive me absolutely crazy. What do you mean? She broke your heart so bad you would gladly spend over a decade feeling almost nothing at all, just so you won't have to face that pain. What do you mean you'd give up every positive emotion as a fair trade, even when you had your heart back in your hands and were so far past what happened? If you had the ability to feel again, it would be like no time had passed at all. What do you mean? All right, let's get some more Jafar backstory, this time mostly unrelated to Amara, which is good because looking at her makes me mad. Many years ago in Agrabah, baby Jafar's mother, a healer, died of illness. Before she did, she told him to go to his father, the Sultan, and that the Sultan would take care of him in his palace. She gives him a ring, one of the Sultan's old rings, as proof that he is in fact the Sultan's kid, that Jafar is the Sultan's blood. She dies and Jafar goes to the palace. The kid they got for young Jafar is so good, by the way. He does a great crying. Baby Jafar boldly steals directly from a palace guard in order to get brought before the Sultan to lose the hand he used to steal. That's the punishment for thievery. Therefore, directly showing that ring to the Sultan as he presents his thieving hand. The Sultan recognizes Jafar's resemblance to his mother and seems genuinely sorry to hear that she died. But the Sultan is not interested in having a new son. He already has a son, a legitimate son, an heir, a boy named Mirza. He does agree to take Jafar in as a serving boy and expressly forbids him from using the word father. Jafar is not here as a son or a prince. Imagine the scandal. The rumors. Jafar is not good at being a serving boy and answers questions meant for Mirza in meetings with foreign dignitaries and almost calls the Sultan father in front of them as well. Like gets the whole first syllable out before he stops himself. There are definitely rumors now. And Mirza finds Jafar after the meeting to slap him around and verbally berate him. Mirza's like a foot shorter than Jafar, by the way. He's younger than him, too. And when the Sultan finds them, he encourages his real son to keep slapping Jafar before very intentionally calling Mirza his only heir. Later that night, the Sultan finds Jafar to remind him of the importance of discretion. And then he grabs Jafar while his back is turned to attempt to drown him in the wash basin. Jafar passes out. He has been drowned. The Sultan lays him on the ground and calls in his guard to take the boy's body away and put him out with the garbage. They wrap him up in the fancy rug and they take him outside. Some magical sparkles float over little Jafar's body in the dump, and he breathes again, alive. Not sure what that's about. It is never explained. There was also little magic sparkles over his mom when she died, but I don't know if that's related. He's on the record later saying his anger kept him alive, but that's all we get. What does that mean, dude? Grown-up present-day Jafar shows Alice's father Edwin, the White Rabbit, as proof that Wonderland is real, and then takes the man back to that dimension with him. They fall from the sky, and they are officially proving to Edwin that his daughter was never crazy. He fractured their relationship for nothing. Jafar keeps up the lie that he's a doctor, but he says that Alice won't listen to him because she associates him with the hospital. He needs Edwin to convince her to leave Wonderland. But Edwin doesn't think Alice would ever listen to him after the way he messed up their relationship, so now Jafar has to change tactics. He walks up on the Red Queen talking about how she wants to get her hands on the genie before Jafar. She lets him know that the genie has escaped, and he tries to command her guard around. They only answer to her. And he reminds her that she needs him to actually cast the magic and change all the magic laws. And she kind of just brushes him off. These two hate each other so bad. They're technically working together, but they in no way want to see the other succeed. Jafar goes to yell at the old man he keeps locked in a cage. And then Jafar goes to interrogate the new man he has tied to a chair in his lair and steals some of Edwin's blood for magic purposes. Jafar disguises himself as Edwin to carry out his brand new evil scheme. Alice and Will are still heading for Jafar's castle. They realize it's way up in the air on a floating island and that this is actually going to be pretty difficult for them. And they just start digging through their pockets, looking for anything that's going to help. Like, Will's set of keys to Granny's diner is probably not going to do much for them here. Alice follows some obnoxious tweeting sounds to a bird bark tree, a tree that literally has floating bark if you detach it. Alice is making plans to construct them some sort of floating basket when who emerges from the tree line but Edwin? It's Jafar. Actually, Edwin tells Alice that she was right and asks for her forgiveness. Says he was trying to figure out what happened when she just vanished from the asylum, that he was doing his own research about her Wonderland stories and ended up finding a mirror that took him to Wonderland, which honestly is a really great lie, because then you've got Will in the corner being like, oh, that's how I got to Wonderland. Well, it's crazy. There's a lot of those weird looking glasses around, I guess. Alice is actually pretty upset to see Edwin because there's years of hurt there. She has a really cathartic rant at him that all she's ever wanted was for him to believe her, for him to try. And yeah, he believes her now. He's trying now because the proof is real. It's here. And that it's not enough anymore. Alice just goes off to keep constructing her bird bark basket. Edwin asks Will all about his and Alice's plans, tries to get in good with Will Scarlet and ask for advice on how to fix his relationship with Alice. Will says it takes time, but it's in Alice's nature to help everyone and solve everyone's pains, so she'll probably still come around. But he also makes it very clear he does not like Alice's dad and would never give him advice for his sake, only for hers. Which is real best friendism right there. I have said nearly identical things about my friends' bad fathers. Edwin does a summoning spell while Alice and Will plan how to get up to that island and also how they're going to get back down. And as they're looking up to try and sort out their ideas, they see a dragon heading straight for them. That's what Jafar just summoned with magic. A full dragon. The trio runs, but the dragon finds them and starts to go for Edwin, who pleads for Alice's help. Alice kills the dragon by throwing her sword at it, and then runs to hug her father, almost losing him to a dragon, and then immediately hearing him apologize again has her lowering her defenses.
I know what a horrible man is. I faced one here in Wonderland. And you are nothing like him.
You don't know how happy that makes me to hear.
Jafar, you think you're so funny. And you're right. Alice cooks for Edwin at the fire and then hurriedly shuffles Will away for a random task where she can let Will know that that man is not her father because he didn't say grace over the food she made him. Apparently, this man compulsively says grace every time he eats. And it's one habit Jafar didn't have the chance to observe and mimic because he never fed him. Looking at their body language, Jafar can figure out he's been made and he transforms back into himself while they're away and goes to collect the real Edwin. The real Edwin is locked in a little bird cage with the old man nearby, praying to the Christian Lord over his rations, talking about being a bad dad with the old boy. And the old man mentions Cyrus. Edwin is so excited and asks if the man can tell him anything. And that man just says the only thing that Jafar wants is the one thing he'll never have. And I think Edwin was looking for reassurance about Alice. But okay. But now Edwin is in front of Alice for real. Jafar retrieved him and is dangling Edwin over a long drop into the ocean with his magic, goading Alice into making a wish. The real Edwin admits that he blamed Alice for his wife's death and all his unhappiness, and that he is so ashamed of that. And he's ashamed that he never believed her when she finally found happiness. She admits she kept running back to Wonderland to find proof to bring to him. That's all she was doing when she kept returning to this place. And Edwin tells her not to waste mercy or compassion on him, not to spend any wishes, but he tells her the one thing that he knows she'll want to hear that will actually bring her hope. That Cyrus escaped and Jafar doesn't have him anymore. Jafar drops Edwin and Alice uses her second wish to have her father sent home. Jafar flies off into the night, and Will wonders what the cost of that wish might be. Back in Victorian England, Edwin awakes with a start, believing his adventures in Wonderland to be a very strange and vivid dream. So I guess that's the cost, that Edwin doesn't think he was really in Wonderland. That's kind of a dumb cost. Jafar goes to chat again with that old man he keeps imprisoned, revealing in one last burst of flashback that this old man is the Sultan, is Jafar's father. After turning on Amara, Jafar went to get his revenge, killing Mirza and demanding his father call him his son in order to avoid pain and capture, but the Sultan won't do it, saying he'll never give Jafar what he wants. And Jafar proceeds to lock him in a cage until he can break the laws of magic and force his dad to love him against his will. Wet cat behavior. This is evil, wet cat behavior. That is so pathetic. I love you. The Sultan says his only regret about his relationship with Jafar, even now, after being held captive for so long, is that he didn't hold Jafar under the water for longer. And then he tries to take himself out of the equation by jumping into the abyss, but Jafar catches him on the flying carpet and puts him back in his little cage. Also, Cyrus wakes up on the beach. He's alive. Yay! We love Cyrus. I am so invested in Cyrus. Wow, we got a flashback where Cyrus actually does something. I didn't know he knew how to do that. It starts with Alice and Cyrus just being all sweet and great. He shows her a compass that his mother gave to him long ago, a magic compass that points to whatever it is the holder wants most. Apparently, it always used to point to his mother when he held it, but now it doesn't, so he believes her to be dead. Also, the compass is called the Lost and Found, which I think that's a silly name. I think that's a silly name for a compass. So Alice is like, I didn't know genies had moms. And it turns out he wasn't always a genie. It's a curse. He used to be a regular human man until he got genie cursed. But before he can say any more about that, some random armed men show up to try and capture him. And in the process of fighting off the men, Alice gets super stabbed. Cyrus brings Alice to the best healer he knows, the White Rabbit's wife. Another rabbit who has no name other than presumably Mrs. Rabbit, and also she's voiced by Whoopi Goldberg. You can always rely on Whoopi Goldberg to be a voice actor in any sort of weird cartoon. That's just a law of the universe. Also, this is where we learn that the White Rabbit has children. He's had a wife and kids this whole time that Alice knew about. While Alice is healing, the White Rabbit kind of scolds Cyrus for trapping Alice in a life of wandering and danger when all she's ever wanted was a home and a family where she was loved. And this prompts Cyrus to go chat with the caterpillar and trade away his mother's compass for something that will make Alice happy. Once Alice is all better, she's telling Cyrus that she likes their life. They keep each other safe. She's happy. She's solid. And he leads her into a magic, invisible tent, all comfy and decorated and safe. This is what he traded for. He traded the last thing he had of his mother to get her a home where she could be safe and feel safe. I think I was just so psyched to see Cyrus doing literally anything of his own volition, like something other than escape prison or miss his girlfriend or be sweet in flashbacks. And this does technically fall under be sweet in flashbacks, but it's different. He loves that girl. All male leads in the Once Upon a Time universe exist primarily to love their wives. Rumpelstiltskin might be the only one who has a different primary goal, and he still does very much love his wife. He does it wrong, I think, but he still does. Jafar exists to be evil, and he still doesn't super break the pattern. We just haven't really gotten into it yet. Hook, though? Robin Hood? David? Charming. I love it. And this show will not be breaking the pattern. Speaking of complicated women loved by their husbands, the Red Queen, who also coincidentally exists to be loved by me. In the present day, Cyrus jumped off a floating island and landed on a beach. Great job. He runs around and is immediately grabbed by a sentient vine that is attached to the rest of the Red Queen's grapevine network, a phrase that I do actually love and does actually feel Wonderland. We've got one thing that feels Wonderland here now, and it's the grapevines being connected and sending messages back to home base. Grapevine network, fantastic. Tweedledee notices this getting filtered down the network and goes to tell his queen, but in the process catches his brother, Tweedledum, giving the genie bottle to Jafar. Tweedledum's betrayal has been discovered. It's been happening the whole time in pretty much insignificant and tiny ways in the background. I mentioned it once. Tweedledum is a traitor. Tweedledee snitches on his brother to the queen and also passes along the news about Cyrus. So now an angry, scorned Anastasia is riding a carriage to where Cyrus is trapped, cutting him down herself while leaving him restrained in the vines so she can take him to get the bottle. Even funnier because we see Jafar place his coveted third genie bottle next to the other two only to realize it is a fake. Anastasia had a fake genie bottle stashed away in her castle, and Tweedledum took it without realizing. He didn't know she'd done that. A box is delivered to Jafar containing Tweedledum's still alive disembodied head, presumably removed from his shoulders by Anastasia herself. And Jafar steals some of Anna's hair from her hairbrush and starts destroying her castle, exploding it in a rage as he leaves it behind. He uses the stolen hair to create a magical storm specifically directed to kill Anastasia with lightning. He is the world's biggest hater. I love him. So where's the real bottle? In an answer that continues to make me go crazy, it's in the old wagon that Anastasia and Will used to live in together, where she keeps a lot of souvenirs from the good old days, including her old pink dress that she was wearing when they first came to Wonderland. She grabs the genie bottle out of the wagon and shows it off to Cyrus, who's so mad at her. I think understandably, I wouldn't like her either if I was Cyrus. But he still tells her where he believes Alice is going to be because she makes it very clear that either they get to Alice first or Jafar does. Also, he starts staring into her soul and commenting about how her wishes run really deep. So now she doesn't like him either. Equality. So where's Alice? Well, her first goal was to find the White Rabbit and flip him back to their side because he's their ticket out of Wonderland once they meet up with Cyrus. He can just portal them somewhere, no problem. The second they find the rabbit in his somewhat trashed house, before they even say a word, he's just confessing all of his sins. He's telling them that he betrayed them and he's so sorry. And they already know. They just want his help and maybe to know, why he did all that. He did all that because the Red Queen has his family. She's holding them hostage to keep the White Rabbit on her side and feeding her information. And the rabbit has no idea where she's got them stashed. But Will has an idea. Will takes the crew to his and Anna's old wagon. He knows she still cares and is still keeping things in there. He's still thinking about it too. When he goes inside, he finds the empty box where a genie bottle used to be and just sighs about it. But he does also find the White Rabbit's family. Whoopi Goldberg Rabbit and all her rabbit babies are safe. The White Rabbit is going to stay with Alice and Will so he can keep his new promise to Alice and get them out safely as soon as they meet back up with Cyrus. Alice takes them to the secret magic tent that Cyrus got all those years ago, but Cyrus isn't there. Because he was 2 minutes behind them. And they run into each other's arms and they kiss and they cry. They're back together. The hell is the rest of this show gonna be about? We're only 2/3 of the way through and this has been the whole thing so far. Will is pissed that Anastasia's here. Alice demands to know why Anastasia's doing all of this. Give us your secrets, Anna. Why are you working with Jafar? Anastasia wants Jafar to break the rules of magic because one of those rules is that you can't change the past. And Anna wants to go back to a time where Will still loved her. She wants her boyfriend back. Ma'am, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you are the reason he left you in the first place. He looks her in the eyes and says he'll never love her again, which is so cold. But also, she's not trying to get you to love her again. She doesn't want to break magic rules to make you fake fall in love with her now. She wants to go back to pre-committing to the bit of being the queen, so none of this ever happened. That's way nobler and nicer. Jafar's storm has arrived, but no Jafar, he didn't follow it. If I was Jafar, I would have followed the storm so I could get my damn genie bottle. Even if I didn't know that Anastasia also had my genie, she presumably at least has my bottle. The rabbit starts to dig his hole so the group of them can get out of Dodge, but a bolt of lightning from the storm streaks towards Anastasia. She deflects it with magic, but she doesn't pay attention to where it's going, and it hits Will. She accidentally lightning bolts Will. He goes down, and so does Alice, because if you'll recall, her first wish was that if Will dies, she dies too. Alice passes out. Will uses his last breaths to tell Cyrus that Alice promised the final wish to him, that it is technically his wish by right. So Will gets to make Alice's third wish, and his wish is to end Alice's suffering. That's how he words it. So Alice isn't dying anymore, and Cyrus isn't a genie anymore, because Cyrus being a genie made Alice suffer. I personally, if I heard the wish end their suffering, I would assume that means quick and easy death. And it's crazy actually that the genie magic didn't interpret it that way. But everything's good, and Alice and Cyrus celebrate, except for when they turn around, they see Anastasia, despondent, arms empty where she was previously cradling a dying Will Scarlet. He vanished. He vanished? Yeah, he vanished. He is now trapped in a comfy little room, a gold cuff over each wrist, stuck in a genie bottle that's hurtling down a river. Will Scarlet is now a genie.
Mistress mine, my will is thine. Tell me your wishes 3. Bollocks! I'm pretty sure I'm a genie, lizard.
Hey, we haven't seen Lizard in a while, not since she got thrown around in a hedge maze and then watched the Red Queen longingly stare at the statue of a man that she definitely only sees as a friend. But here she is, bathing in a river, the very same river that Will was tossed down in his bottle, Lizard picks up the bottle, frees Will, and now she's his master. She calls the shots. She's very happy to see him. But he tries to leave immediately to go save his friends, and he can't because Lizard controls him. He's bound to her, and she's got 3 wishes. Lizard and Will wander through a little village, and Lizard encourages Will to take a break, even telling him that if he just grants her first wish, she won't expect anything else after that. He can do whatever he wants from there, which he thinks sounds great. Will tries to list the genie rules for Lizard, the things his spells can't do, and the only one he can remember is that he can't make anyone fall in love. And then Lizard goes from saying, just grant me my one first wish and we'll go from there, to saying, I guess you can just make the first wish. What do you want, Will? Will Scarlet wishes for an ice-cold beer. An ice-cold beer is for everyone in the village. It's a small wish, so it can't really be corrupted. And they just party in the village. Will loves being a genie. No consequences here. Will's having the best night of his life, and Lizard is hiding in a cottage all by herself. It might be her house. That would make sense. I just didn't assume Lizard had a house for some reason, but it's probably her house that she's in. Will susses out that there's someone Lizard has her eyes on, and he wants to help her get together with them. But Liz says she won't tell him who it is, especially because he can't make anyone fall in love with her. She asks what Will personally finds attractive in a woman, and he rattles off a whole list, culminating in saying that it feels like fireworks when he looks at her. And Liz uses her second wish to ask him to make her everything that he listed. Confident and pretty and wearing a nice dress and feeling fireworks, so she gets a real sparkly dress. Her makeup gets done, her hair is nicely curled, and fireworks start shooting off in the distance. And she still won't go into the village, saying the guy she likes doesn't like her back. And Will comes back with that well, he must be blind. Anyone would be lucky to have you. I'm going to drag him back here myself and he'll see what he's missing. And I'm slowly melting into myself to avoid witnessing this conversation. And Lizard tells the truth. It's Will that she's in love with. And now Will's beating himself up because he does like Lizard as a friend and a confidant and a colleague and a fellow thief. And even if he wanted to, he literally can't love anyone, heartless as he is. And then Lizard makes a pretty big mistake.
It doesn't have to be love. I just wish you could at least feel something for me. Anything.
The genie master used the W word without thinking about it. And immediately dies where she stands, forcing Will back into the bottle as she slowly fades out in front of him, trapped and teeny tiny in his bottle. And Will feels pretty guilty about that, which is technically a feeling you can have for someone. Oh, Lizard, in the arms of an angel. That X is so fucking big. I did not think it was gonna be that big. She's been fully erased. Alice, Cyrus, and Anastasia are a fun little trio now, traveling together to go find Will. Alice and Cyrus are finding it a little bit difficult to actually talk to each other because neither of them actually want to talk about what they've gone through in the process of reuniting. And Alice and the Red Queen keep sniping at each other as they go. So it's a little tense. I will also say Anastasia is using her real voice with them and not her silly, slightly higher pitched posh queen voice. I love her so much. Anastasia looks fucking great too. She's got her hair somewhat down. She's in a walkable outfit, but still has a fun cape. She is everything to me. And Alice gets a new outfit. She actually looks like she belongs in Once Upon a Time now. It's a little steampunky, a little inventory, a little adventure-y. It actually suits her character very well. And it's cute. Where has this been the whole time? Also, where did she get it from? Maybe it was in their tent? That might make sense. Anastasia walks like minimum 10 feet behind the happy couple at all times, which backfires when she vanishes, grabbed by unhappy hordes of peasants who mean to end her life for her crimes. She flips back into her angry queen voice and tries to tell all these people someone's going to come for her, they're going to regret it. But when pushed to think of a single person who would actually like pay a ransom for her, Anastasia cannot think of anyone at all. Alice tries to convince Cyrus to not even go looking for Anastasia, but Cyrus isn't biting. He finds a bit of Anastasia's dress caught on a branch and uses materials from around them to cast a locator spell. A locator spell, like from Once Upon a Time. I actually cheered when he did this, like I was watching sports. I had just been sitting there wondering why no one was using a locator spell to find her, and then he whipped one out. I felt actually personally triumphant. It was ridiculous. I care too much about this show. They find Anastasia tied to a stake, and Cyrus has to continue to convince Alice to go save her. Alice is full of rage. She just wants violence. The pair approaches the crowd to say they're here to save the queen, and by the pair, I mean, Cyrus does that while Alice kind of pouts behind him, but they don't have a way to pay any kind of ransom, and Alice tries to solve the problem with her sword like she always does, and all three of them end up tied to stakes together. At night, evil little beasties are drawn to the torchlight around their stakes. Mom Raths, they're called, here to eat them up. The trio tries to knock over all the lights so the Mom Rath stops approaching, but they're drawn to Alice's glowing necklace. So she throws it far away to draw them off, and the three escape their binds and run, Alice's necklace lost to them. Now that they're free, Alice starts to tell Cyrus she's afraid they will never actually be able to settle into their happy ending, that there will always be one more quest. But then they all see fireworks coming from one of the poorest villages in the kingdom, and they can pretty quickly assume there are genies in there. They agree to split up against Alice's better judgment, and Alice and Cyrus take a moment to kiss in front of the fireworks. And then Cyrus re-proposes there, giving her the ring he didn't get a chance to last time. It's a very sweet proposal. Everything about them continues to just be sweet, sweet, sweet. It is right after Alice said she didn't want to lose to the Red Queen when finding Will, which is funny. She got a head start, Alice. You are handing Anastasia this win. Stop being cute and getting engaged. And when Anastasia does, she finds Lizard dead, respectfully closes the girl's eyes, and snatches the genie bottle where it lays on the floor. Anastasia brings the bottle back to Alice and Cyrus, and when Cyrus asks for the bottle, she rubs the side of it, freeing Will and becoming his master. This is finally the thing that makes Cyrus want to turn on her and stop saving her. That man does not mess around with people trying to disrespect genies. Anastasia warns them that Jafar already has 2 of the 3 genies, that they cannot let Will or the bottle fall into his hands, and Cyrus is in shambles. Because those other genies, those are his brothers, cursed to be genies the same time he was. So now they still can't leave Wonderland because Cyrus won't abandon his brothers, and Will and Anastasia aren't leaving either because Will says he knows Anastasia won't help because she's always looked for the easy way out, which triggers her "don't tell me what I will and won't do" response that we've seen from her a few times. So Anastasia's going to help free Cyrus's brothers too. She says it's because Wonderland deserves better than what she ever gave them, so she's sticking around to fight. And I do believe that as well, but also don't tell me it isn't at least partially because Will said you weren't going to stay. I see you. Jafar takes over the Red Queen's castle, which is weird because he was just exploding it, and drags his dad out to the throne room to watch him be king and sit on a throne.
A throne is made when the man who sits upon it is worthy. Where you sit, Jafar, is nothing more than a large chair.
The caterpillar is working for Jafar these days, sending all his men out to look for the bottle, but there's been no luck yet. So instead, the caterpillar tells Jafar about a creature so feared that most people won't even speak its name, something terrifying. and unstoppable, something that 500 men lost their lives to lock away in the first place, and then pleads with Jafar not to use it. You didn't have to bring it up. You started it. Please listen to how the caterpillar says this creature's name.
It is called the Jabberwocky.
Jafar puts Tweedledum's head on a podium and asks for information about where to find the Jabberwocky in return for giving Tweedledum a new body. Tweedledum also asks him, please, to not do that, to not release the Jabberwocky, but now Jafar's only more excited to go get it. Because if everyone is that afraid of the Jabberwocky once he's released it, all of Wonderland is going to be after Alice and Cyrus just to make that thing stop. Jafar finds the place where the Jabberwocky is held, murders its guard to get inside, even as the guard says he's trying to protect Jafar by not letting him in, and says a genuinely great line.
The only thing waiting in that prison is death.
Death and I have already met. Send him my regards.
It's kind of devastating how hot Jafar is. He enters the Jabberwocky's prison, calling out to the monster as a deep and silky female voice calls back to him, laughing, asking why he's here and what he intends to gain. And Jafar is spinning in circles, trying to find her, just him and a torch in a room with a monster he can't even see, has no idea what it looks like, what he's looking for, has no idea what it's capable of. Everyone he's told about it has begged him not to seek it out, and it is laughing at him, reading his thoughts, invading his privacy, mocking him for believing himself to be stronger than 500 men.
You'll have no luck getting inside my head.
I'm not worried about getting inside your head. Don't you see? I'm already in there.
She's scary. This is really good tension. Our big bad of the season, our most threatening villain so far, afraid and unprepared. God damn, I'm scared of her too. What is she? She's just a lady, pinned to the ceiling with a magical blade, the Vorpal blade, the only blade that can hurt her, and she looks awful. The wig is crazy. Like, she isn't supposed to look good or stable, but truly, she just looks poorly executed. Her physicality is really good. She's always in other people's personal bubbles and sitting incorrectly in chairs and contorting herself weirdly, and she's got a real staring problem. This actress did so well, but she looks like that. She describes the experience of Jafar being drowned by his father, and he starts to suffocate for real. That's what she does. She scares people to death, uses their fears to infiltrate their brains and their bodies. I have a lot of complaints about the Jabberwocky in this show. Number one being how she's styled, but number two being that she's only introduced 4 episodes from the end. She's compelling to me. Let's learn about Cyrus and his brothers. Prepare for multiple tangents. So like 100 or 200 years ago in Agrabah, Cyrus was gambling at cards with his brothers Taj and Rafi behind him. He bets his magical compass, and his hot older brother tries to get him to leave while they're ahead, but Cyrus is so confident that he refuses, and he wins the game. He was actually cheating the whole time, something that the other player accuses him of but cannot prove. They don't actually make it clear what the entire birth order of these boys is, other than that Taj is the eldest. I do personally believe that Rafi is the baby, making Cyrus the middle child, which I think tracks. The man Cyrus pissed off by winning at cards responds by burning down Cyrus's house with his mother trapped inside. Hello? Disproportionate. Just don't play cards with him again, man. Their mother is badly burned, her face and body all covered with bandages, and the only way that Cyrus can think to save her is to go to the Well of Wonders and get magical water to heal her. Cyrus scoops up some water, and a little demon child arises from the well. Her name is Nyx. She's the guardian of the well, and I probably should have made a card for her for the board, but I forgot. Actually, I wouldn't want her staring at me like that from the board anyway. So it was on purpose. I did it for both of us, you and me. Nyx knows why they're here, but she will not give them any water because their mother's fate is already sealed. It is her time. She must die. The water's not meant for them, only for those with uncertain fates. I don't know why Nyx gets to decide that, but then she just tells them to return the water they took and sinks back into the well. Cyrus does not return the water. Instead, just turns around and goes home, skein of water in hand, convincing his hesitant brothers to do the same for their mother. The brothers pour the magic water into their burned mother's mouth, and she's cured. She's healthy. They remove her bandages to reveal her face, and she's Amara. Nyx appears and curses the brothers to be genies forever. Yeah. Their mom is Amara? I have so much to say. Here's the first thing. Once Upon a Time has this thing that it does in the main show where they have a character do something just genuinely bad, truly not good, and then they just glance over it and keep going, never diving into the actual implications of the thing they've dropped into your lap. And if you want to meaningfully engage with the rest of the show or have any fun at all, you also sort of just have to shove that thing aside and keep going. I genuinely think they just forget about the things they have characters do sometimes, or that they make certain choices because it lines up for plot reasons, and then they don't engage with their own narrative to realize what those choices actually mean. The examples off the top of my head from the main show are Regina stealing the huntsman's heart and keeping him around as a coerced lover, we'll call him, for 30 years. Neil having Henry with Emma when she was 17 and he was like 20, 21, 22. And a lot of the shit Rumpelstiltskin did, actually, but I think the one most applicable here being that he basically purchased Belle as a young woman from her father in exchange for his protection, like a weird mob blackmail and bribery situation. And then they ended up in true love about it. Now, I love all three of those characters still because I can buy into Once Upon a Time's own story, right? I can engage with the story on the level that the writers seemed to. And the other thing about all those characters is we have so many ins with them, right? So many ways to understand them, see where they go, see where they started. We can understand them in really nuanced ways because there's so much about them. And we're also not introduced to those characters with the worst thing they've ever done. Because if you want me to like a character, you should not start by explicitly showing me the worst thing they've ever done. And you definitely shouldn't leave them there with no further characterization until you decide, actually, you want me to like them now. With nothing in between. Honestly, I think the biggest thing that supports my theory that the writers literally just forget about things or don't think about it is that they do this with non-creepy evil character stuff too. They just drop in things that should be really impactful and then they never touch it again. Like David, Prince Charming, having to abandon his life and pretend to be his dead twin brother for years, literally leaving behind his name, not explored. Not the point. The showrunner's big mistake was to have one of these instances in their 13-episode limited-run spin-off show. And also to introduce Amara the way they did, because, oh my God, I'm not rooting for that woman. I don't care whose mom she is. And honestly, the fact that she raised 3 sons makes what she did to Jafar worse to me. She is not off my shit list. Sorry, Cyrus, you don't know what your mom got up to after the genie incident, but I don't think you'd like it either. Even if we just got into the casual murder and torture she engaged in. Second thing, that's why she wanted all the genies? Because they were her boys? Does she have to break all the laws of magic about it? Because I guess if you wanted to change the past, which would kill her, right? She wouldn't be healed. She would die from all those burns. So she could just gather the 3 genie bottles, return herself to the well, and then free them that way. Right? Is that not way easier? You don't have to break any laws. No way you actually need a second duplicitous sorcerer for this plan. You just liked the attention and the power. Admit it! Third thing, I have not addressed what Cyrus looks like thus far. But maybe you, like me, looked at Cyrus, heard he was a genie from Agrabah, and went, he's a genie from Agrabah? But whatever, the genie in the original show is Giancarlo Esposito, so I guess nothing matters. But then they gave him a family. The showrunners said, great, everyone in Agrabah is Middle Eastern, except for Cyrus, and then made Cyrus's family Middle Eastern. Now, I don't think Taj and Rafi look like brothers either, but they could be cousins or something. Cyrus does not look related to those people, and furthermore, Amara, the actress who plays Amara, is actually 2 years younger than the actor that plays her eldest son, Taj. And they look it, too. Once Upon a Time is usually, kind of famously, really good at casting for family and also for younger variations of characters. They're really good at finding actors that have similar facial features to properly portray what they're trying to portray. So what happened here? Also, it's just so crazy that they found a Middle Eastern actor to portray every single character from Agrabah, except for the one that happened to be the romantic male lead. That they just couldn't find a Middle Eastern actor to play the part of Cyrus. That's such a weird coincidence. I wonder why that is. God, this episode pissed me off. We're so close to the end of the show, and I'm so mad. In the present time, Cyrus is all upset about his brothers, and the Red Queen is somehow the first one to jump in and tell him to go easy on himself, that there's no way he could have known. That shouldn't have been her job. They need to go up against Jafar, and they have a couple of different plans to do so. Anastasia's plan is to use her army and confront him directly, which is difficult because all of her people hate her. And Cyrus's plan is actually just break the genie curse. Get to the Well of Wonders, talk to the Guardian there, break the curse. And there's one right here in Wonderland connected to the one in Agrabah with the same Guardian that cursed him in the first go-round. Cyrus wants to ungenie his brothers. Anastasia wants to prioritize gathering an army to protect Will. So they split the party. Geniuses. The lot of them. Cyrus and Alice go to find the well. Cyrus still refusing to tell Alice why he got cursed into a genie, actively lying and saying he doesn't remember what happened. And they stumble across 2 red doors with a knight between them that speaks in riddles. Hey, that's pretty Wonderlandy. Let's go! Alice, for once, doesn't try to solve a problem with her sword. She tries to be polite and use her brain, while Cyrus is getting yelly and mean. Off to the side, kind of out of nowhere, it seems he does not respond to minor frustrations well. Alice realizes that the knight here can only answer yes or no questions and will always answer them with a lie. And from there, it's very easy to determine which door to go through, and they find the Well of Wonders. And the knight vanishes like an apparition. Cyrus tells Alice to stay behind so he can go to the well alone. He yells at her and calls her stubborn. It's really weird. It's very unlike him. I know he feels weird and guilty about his secrets, but oh my God, you can't do that to her. Cyrus goes in alone and asks Nyx for mercy, pleading and saying his brothers only did what he asked and they shouldn't be punished. And also I lied about him being alone. Alice followed him and is spying because it's Alice. She's not going to just stay out of your business. Nyx says very clearly that the curse cannot be lifted until the water is returned, that Cyrus's mother lives and the water can still be brought back. But Nyx will not tell Cyrus where his mother is and just sinks back into the well. Alice reveals herself and tells Cyrus that it's okay, that everyone makes mistakes and she doesn't think less of him, and also reveals her own source of guilt, that she had previously given up on them, had agreed to have her brain removed or whatever about it, and the two of them forgive each other for their pasts and look forward to their joint future. New mission acquired. Find Cyrus's mom. How am I still bored by these two? Like, now they even have some issues now, and I'm still bored. The Jabberwocky wanders through the village Will and Lizard partied in, scaring a random man to death, like, for funsies, until she stumbles across Lizard's dead body, plucking her eyes straight from her head. She brings the eyes back to Jafar, so he can do magic about them while she drapes herself all over his throne. Jafar does do magic about it, which allows him to see the last thing Lizard's eyes ever saw, Anastasia closing them in respect. So now the Jabberwocky is after Anna. Will and Anna go harass the White Rabbit, where Anastasia is not a welcome sight at all. She asks for the rabbit's forgiveness and his help spreading the word that the people of Wonderland can trust the Red Queen to retake Wonderland for the people. And the White Rabbit tells them that Jafar has released the Jabberwocky, a creature that Will has never heard of, but would love not to meet. And Anna still insists on staying instead of fleeing Wonderland. The White Rabbit has his marching orders to go run around and propagandize everyone, and Anastasia and Will go to warn Alice and Cyrus about the Jabberwocky. Will demands to know the real reason Anastasia wants to do all this, because she's never done anything that didn't make her life more comfortable, and she tells him there isn't an angle to this. She wanted to go back to the past and just be with him, and accidentally ruined everyone's futures in the process. She knows he doesn't want what she wants, so instead, she can at least try and make everyone else a little bit happier and take out her old partner that was always super mean to her in the process. Her accent gets closer and closer to his the more that they talk alone. And I don't know if that was a conscious choice the actress made or just what happens when you're acting opposite someone with such a distinctive northern accent, but it makes me climb up the walls. What do you mean? She's audibly dropping her walls and untying her masks. I'm going crazy. The bird song around them stops, and Anastasia panics and puts Will back in the genie bottle, stashing him under a rock and demanding the Jabberwocky face her. The Jabberwocky fucks with her for a minute, teleporting around and ratcheting up her fear, watching her run around in the trees. Anastasia magics a stick into a sword that I do not believe she knows how to use. She actually does stab the Jabberwocky, impales her onto a tree, but because it's not the Vorpal blade, the Jabberwocky just pulls herself off the sword, giggling, and mocks Anastasia for being scared of her. Like, for real, this actress could have been such a moment. But I am so distracted by how bad she looks. And now the Jabberwocky has both Anna and Will, and she takes them back to Jafar. Anastasia and Will are both tied to chairs, facing each other in a cage, while Jafar is also in there, watching them and taunting them. Anna tells Jafar he doesn't have the advantage here, because she has the 3 wishes, and he can't kill her. And he says, actually, this is super easy. She just has to make her 3 wishes, and she can either do it on her own, or he can make it really painful. Will, smart boy, tells Anna to just wish Jafar out of Wonderland, and she tries to do just that, but he silences her with magic. So it doesn't work. And then he sets the Jabberwocky on her to torture her. And it's brutal, too. It's all magical mental torture, the Jabberwocky whispering in her ear, talking about how Anastasia's a scared child, desperate for love and power, but she's really falling apart and losing it and sweating and sobbing. Her voice cracks and she's screaming. It sucks to watch. Like, I don't want to put it on screen because it really sucks to look at. So I simply won't. Just trust me. She looks rough. The Jabberwocky does reveal a character secret though, baby. Anastasia is Anastasia Tremaine, Cinderella's stepsister. Ashley Boyd's stepsister. If you've watched my Once Upon a Time Season 1 recap or the first 5 minutes of this recap, you know I'm weirdly attached to Ashley Boyd. I'm so happy to see that one of her stepsisters did so well for herself. That does also, according to the Once Upon a Time fan wiki, make Will Scarlet the baker from the Cinderella direct-to-DVD sequels. Because that was Anastasia's love interest in those movies, was the baker. He was a simple man, a peasant. Her mother would never approve, and I adore that for him. I loved that baker. Anyway, back to the torture. Jafar also starts hurting Will with magic, so now Anastasia's being tortured and watching Will be tortured. So she just breaks and makes the exact humiliatingly simplistic and vain wishes that the Jabberwocky demands of her. Anastasia wishes for her crown, and then for her jewels, and then for the Jabberwocky to stop. And Will is transported back into his bottle, all 3 wishes used. Alone and shaking in a prison cell, Anastasia is approached by Tweedledee, who has brought her a bit of food he smuggled in for her and says they can both escape together through the secret tunnels in the castle. And she tells him to leave her. Leave her here. Go find Alice and Cyrus, Tell them it's over. They need to get out of Wonderland. You forget about me. You tell them to forget about me. You leave me right here. She makes me so sad. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. Oh, Anastasia, I love you. I love you. Jafar has all 3 genies and a second sorcerer in the shape of his Amara staff, and he's ready to begin his spell to break all magic. There's 3 episodes left. How? Flashback, 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 flashback. Anastasia, soon to officially marry the Red King. Actually, she's marrying him tomorrow in this flashback. It's the day before her wedding. She meets the Tweedles for the first time and also meets the fucking only relevant character from the primary show in this spin-off, because I'm not counting Robin Hood, the Queen of Hearts herself, Cora. Regina's mother, Cora. After, spoilers for Once Upon a Time, Season 1, after Regina shoved her mother through a looking glass and into Wonderland at the behest of Rumpelstiltskin, freeing herself from her mother's overbearing and cruel clutches, Cora ends up here with Anastasia. Cora's the Queen of Hearts, and the Red King and Queen are different from that, but they're both monarchs in the time-honored Once Upon a Time tradition of having just so many kings, queens, princes, and princesses around, none of which seem to have defined borders or real differences in what they're doing. There's so many kings in this show. The Red Queen says a lot of times in the show that she rules Wonderland as though she rules all of it, but it seems like we still got like nation states within the realm. Maybe Cora just rules part of it. That does not seem Cora's style. Whatever. 2 queens. Cora's here. Anastasia is so happy to have the Queen of Hearts here and respecting her in her castle, even though Cora apparently has a history with the Red King, because the Red King hates magic, saying it separates rulers from their subjects and has forbidden it from Anastasia. Cora says that Anastasia reminds her of herself. Talks up Anna's potential, how Anna's exactly the kind of daughter she would choose to have, how she'd be honored to teach Anna magic someday. Did Cora know Anastasia has mommy issues before going into this, or was it just a lucky guess? Truly, the real villains of Once Upon a Time are mommy issues, daddy issues, and Cora. Will sneaks into Anna's window that night to see her and ask why she's doing this. He pleads for her to tell him it's a con. It's just another scheme to get the biggest possible score for both of them. That she's gonna flee with all those jewels, like I said earlier. She says she's trying to do what's best for them both.
Have you forgotten all the good times we've had? Making wine from wildflowers, naming the stars to fall asleep at night.
You named them all Anastasia.
It's the most beautiful name I know.
I fucking screamed the first time I heard that. I can't be normal about them. Will tells Anastasia he'll be waiting for her at their wagon at dawn, that she can fix this. And they can forget this ever happened if she just joins him there. But who actually finds Will at the wagon? Cora! Cora was eavesdropping on their conversation in Anastasia's bedroom and has now shown up to tell Will Scarlet that Anastasia's not coming, that she's decided to live the life she deserves. And Will does not handle it well, crying and talking about how every day he's just been waiting for her to change her mind. Every day he thinks today is the day she's coming back for him, and every day his heart breaks all over again. He asks Cora to take his heart. She doesn't even offer that as a service. He just asks. He says he'd rather feel nothing at all than feel the pain he does now. And Cora happily removes it for him. He actually loves it. He says he feels much better. And Cora pockets his heart. Says he should be on his way. And as she is in possession of his heart, and he literally cannot disobey her, he heads off into the woods. I don't think Will knew about that bit. And what does Cora find when she goes back to the Red Castle? Anastasia, in a simple gown, hair down, large leather bag over her shoulder. She's leaving, going for the wagon, to meet up with Will, to abandon this new life, to leave right before her wedding, to go be happy again. She has made the choice to give it up and return to him. She tries to lie to Cora about it, but Cora already knows the truth, so it doesn't work. And she instead butts in to tell Anastasia how special she is, how much potential she has. She really presses in on the mommy issues and asks if Anastasia wants to die as some pauper nobody remembers. Anastasia says Will's a lot of things, but he's not a liar, that he's out there waiting for her. Even as Cora's outlining what a great life Anastasia could have, it's not the one she's choosing. She is choosing Will. And then Cora shows Anastasia the wagon in her mirror, showing her that Will is not waiting for her. That he gave up. He moved on. Anastasia doesn't want to believe her, of course, but Cora convinces her. And she's going to start the new chapter of her life. They could have been happy the whole time, except that Cora decided they shouldn't be. Why? Why? She waltzed into the show out of nowhere just to be the reason that Will and Anastasia aren't happy together. Cora, I am in your walls. I'm in your walls. I'm tearing your curtains down. I'm breaking all your mirrors, and I'm seam ripping all of your socks. Cora teaches Anastasia magic. Anastasia's magic is powered by her mommy issues. Also, Cora implies that she is like about to kill the Red King. So that explains what happened to that guy. And that's the last we actually see of Cora. She literally just showed up to be the reason Will and Anastasia aren't happy. I already hated her, guys. I didn't need more reason. In the present day, Jafar is doing some magic at the genie bottles while the Jabberwocky crawls around on his couches, and the magic shakes the entire castle, but none of it seems to be working, so he summons Will out of the bottle and asks how he's resisting the spell. The Jabberwocky asks to question Will. She's so excited to get inside him. And she just like circles him and looks for his fears, but she comes to an issue. Will is not afraid. And why isn't he afraid? Because the boy doesn't have a heart. They don't know that, though. They assume Anastasia put some kind of protection spell on him. Across Wonderland, Cyrus goes to the caterpillar, asking after the compass he traded him all those years ago. And the caterpillar's like, sure, I'll give it to you if you hand me Alice and the Knave of Hearts. Unaware that a tiny, shrunken-down Alice is sneaking beneath his podium, grabbing the compass and slowly dragging it back to Cyrus. They don't intend on making any deals. They're here to steal. Cyrus starts a bar fight by stealing a man's drink, causing enough of a distraction that no one notices him reach down and pick up teeny tiny Alice and his compass. So now they have the thing that, for Cyrus, directly points to his mom. Tweedledee finds them somehow. Truly don't know how he managed that. They were in their secret magic tent, and he passes along Anastasia's dire message about the danger they are all in. But instead of leaving Wonderland, they ask Tweedledee to please show them the secret passages into the castle so they can get in there and save the day. They go for the castle, break into the prisons, and they find Anastasia and the Sultan. Anastasia tells Alice to please go save Will right now, but the door to the prison opens and in comes Jafar and the Jabberwocky. Alice and Cyrus hide. Obs. Jafar questions Anna about what she did to Will, but she genuinely didn't do anything to him, so she's pretty confused. And the Jabberwocky, with all her fear-eating, senses other people in the prisons and reads their fears to learn that Will doesn't have a heart. Alice and Cyrus escape through those secret tunnels, but now Jafar knows about the secret tunnels. Apparently the Red King used them to bring in the people he was cheating on Anastasia with. I'm sorry, he was unfaithful to her? Men are a mystery. Jafar brings Will down into the cell next to Anastasia before dragging her out of the cell to threaten her life in front of him. And she begs Will not to tell where his heart is, even as she is actively getting her throat cut. But he says he'll tell Jafar anyway. He says his heart's caused enough suffering and that no one needs to die for it. After Jafar leaves, Anastasia tells Will he's a good man, the same man she fell in love with, and he tries to convince her that she never really loved him, only the memories and the feelings, how simple it used to be. And she disagrees. It talks about how sad she is that he stayed heartless by choice. Yeah, me too, babe. Will asks what exactly Anastasia wanted to change about the past, and what she wanted was to make it so they never came to Wonderland in the first place.
Being involved with magic, that was the start of all our trouble. Anastasia and Will. We already had all the magic we needed, right?
What they did.
Anastasia asks if Will would ever be able to forgive her, even if he can't love her again, and he just tells her anything is possible. She says he just hopes he gets his heart back so he can love someone again, even if it isn't her. I think I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending. So Alice and Cyrus need to get Will's heart before Jafar gets it, and Alice knows where it is, but it's not in Wonderland. They need the White Rabbit, who has been mostly unsuccessful in his quest to inspire armies that Anastasia sent him on, to take them to Storybrooke, Maine. We're going to Storybrooke. Are we going to see any of the people we love from Storybrooke? No, we're not. Not even for a second. Not even the most minor characters. But I did get so stoked seeing that clock tower. Alice almost immediately gets hit by a car because she's never seen one before, and the White Rabbit takes them both to Will's apartment. Cyrus entertains himself with the concept of light switches for a while, like too long, and Alice is so excited to learn about ice makers and refrigerators. Also, Will's apartment's pretty nice. He's got rugs and coffee tables and a fireplace. A lot of his shit's in boxes, and most of it was probably stolen, but it isn't a bad setup, and it's his. I don't know why he was breaking into diners. He's even got a hand-drawn sketch of the Red Queen pinned to his wall that he throws darts at. A normal and healthy thing to have and do. Cyrus says that Will's apartment looks like the home of a man who isn't happy. A wild statement from a man experiencing his first ever apartment. And Alice realizes she knows exactly where Will has hidden his heart. There's a space in the wall behind the sketch of Anastasia where Will has stashed his heart in a box. He still kept his heart with Anastasia after everything. They grab the heart and they go right back to Wonderland. They were in Storybrooke for like 10 minutes. What a waste of a perfectly good Storybrooke. They just wanted shots of them by the clock tower for the promos. I can feel it. I know it. I think Will should have buried his heart by the wagon. That's what makes sense to me. Like he was laying everything that remained of that Will Scarlet to rest, and then he would do that without even knowing that Anastasia was also keeping remnants of her past life there, and it's like they were doing the same thing. I think that makes more sense. Also, does that mean for the entire 28-year-long curse, he was just 3 inches away from his heart the entire time? How did his heart get there? Because he definitely wasn't throwing darts at an Anna sketch with no memories, right? He's just buried in Wonderland. Alice and Cyrus realize the magical compass is going crazy and ends up pointing right towards an approaching Jafar. The White Rabbit runs off to go protect his family, and Jafar demands that Alice and Cyrus give him the knave's heart. And they won't just do that, obviously. So Jafar knocks them down with magic and just takes the box they drop. Nice and easy. But when he tries to kill them with magic afterwards, his staff's eyes glow green, and Jafar is knocked over instead. And when he tries to retrieve the staff from where Cyrus has picked it up and is holding it, it resists him. Because Amara's back with her boy, and she's not leaving him anytime soon. Jafar just runs off. Leaves the staff there. Alice and Cyrus realize the compass is pointing to the staff, and Cyrus immediately comes to the conclusion it's his mom. Because his mom was obsessed with snakes. I didn't even really touch on that, but yeah, Amara was super obsessed with snakes, but they don't know how to get her out of there. Jafar takes the heart back to his dungeons, drags the knave out of his cell, and non-consensually shoves it back into Will's chest. Will immediately stands up and starts making out with Anastasia through the bars of her cell. Fully cannot resist himself. He's so in love with that girl. The Jabberwocky throws Will back into his cell. Jafar pulls Anastasia out of her cell, so they're still separated. They're just changing who's locked up. And without another threat or request or demand or anything, Jafar kills Anastasia in front of Will right there. Stabs her in the back. She's dead. They made the man able to feel real emotions again just to kill his girlfriend 2 feet away from him. Your first time back feeling emotions, and you've got to do grief in the arms. I'm so sorry. This outfit suddenly feels distasteful at this moment. I am in mourning, as is my fantasy counterpart Will Scarlet. This will not do. One moment. Yes, I think that's much better. You can change into a black coat and black vest to represent how sad you are that the woman you loved in the TV show died, but you gotta keep your green striped pants to remind yourself to never abandon whimsy. Knave, flashback, time for a knave, flashback. We see Will in his time where he was actually in employ as the Knave of Hearts. He was in Cora's employ, being a talkative, friendly piece of shit to the soldiers he's traveling with, all cute in his little red uniform, little heart-shaped belt buckle. They're hunting Alice, though Will doesn't know it's just like a lady that they're hunting. He was told they're getting a murderer, and instead she did a very simple thievery, and he catches her before anyone else, by which I mean he falls down a hill, and she gets him at sword point. It's Alice in her awful little pink butterfly dress we've seen her in before, but at least right now it's covered by a cloak, so you can't really see it. They banter for a minute. Alice calls him a court jester and then runs off back into the woods. Will sneaks up on her later while she's pretending to sleep and steps into a rope trap she has set. Will really and truly kind of can't do anything. And I think that's a very admirable quality in a man. He's still trying to stab her, even as he's stuck in the net. He literally can't stop trying to kill her. That's his orders from Cora. He can't disobey them. She has his heart. He's just flailing his hands around, trying to grab her after she gets the knife away from him. Alice realizes the Queen of Hearts has his heart and offers to steal his heart back for him. He doesn't think she can do it, because his heart is locked in Cora's vault and very guarded. And also, he's not really convinced she actually wants to help a man that's compulsively trying to kill her. But she does do it, of course. Our Alice can do anything. She gets the knave's heart and brings it back to where he waits in his net. And as soon as she cuts it down, he's picking up big sticks to try and bludgeon her to death. Even though the queen doesn't have his heart anymore. It's because his old orders were still active. As soon as Alice says she just wants Will to stop trying to kill her while holding his heart, he stops, which is great. She gives him some random silly commands, stand on one foot, flap your arms around, and then asks him to help her find proof that Wonderland is real, that she can bring home to show her father. They get a drink in a tavern. Alice, fully all in her pink butterfly dress glory, they happily bond, and Will tells Alice that he grew up with a stubborn girl just like her, his little sister Penelope. But Penelope died one day, fell through the frozen lake near their house, and he sees a lot of his sister in Alice. Says if Penelope had gotten to grow up, he thinks he'd be just like her. Alice tries to offer Will his heart back right then and there, but he tells her to hold on to it until they get her proof. They end up in the Red Queen's hedge mazes, Will sword fighting guards while Alice flails a sword about, because this is before she met Cyrus and actually learned how to fight. They push the guards into the walls to get eaten by the hedges, and Will hands Alice the leather bag full of White Rabbit and tells her to go. And we know, of course, from there, she gets teeny tiny small, ends up in Cyrus's lamp, the meat cute occurs, blah, 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 blah. Guess Will just gets out of there and ends up in the enchanted forest in time to get dark cursed. We don't really know how he ended up there. And we won't. That's the last flashback. In the present timeline, Jafar, fucked up little demon man that he is, puts Anastasia's body into a new tight red dress that she wasn't wearing when she died, puts her into a glass coffin with a rose on her chest, and places the glass coffin in front of Will's prison cell. That is so awful. Also, Jafar can't stop talking about how beautiful Anastasia is, how peaceful she looks. My man, Will is threatening to kill him. The Sultan is asking Jafar to show mercy. Everyone agrees this is a bad thing this man is doing. Jafar actually says he's not going to show Will mercy. He's going to give Will hope. He has a job for the knave. Yeah, he's going to ask Will to help him. After all of this, he wants his help. If Will brings him his staff, Jafar will break the laws of magic and bring Anastasia back to life. Across Wonderland, Alice and Cyrus are arguing about what to do. Cyrus wants to just get the water out of the staff, like bring it to the well and just drop the staff in there. Alice would like to free Amara first, so Cyrus can see his mom. And who comes to their secret tent but Will, telling them he has his heart back and that Anastasia is dead. Will also tells them he can bring Anastasia back, but Jafar has to win. And he's so willing to do this. Cyrus and Alice are less so. They do not want to give him the staff. Like they wouldn't do this for each other in a heartbeat. If Alice had to let Jafar win to revive Cyrus, she'd be giving Will the whole like, once we're together, we'll be able to solve anything talk. She'd absolutely do this for him. Will admits he's thinking with his heart when he should be thinking with his head and agrees to go with him to the Well of Wonders and just wander about until Jafar, forces him back into his bottle. But surprise! Will grabs the staff while Alice and Cyrus are sleeping, meaning to steal it from them and bring it back to Jafar. But Cyrus was actually awake and catches him. In the act, he asks Will, hey, please don't steal that. Put it back. Go back to sleep. We'll forget about this. And Will punches him really hard in the head. Cyrus passes out. Alice and Cyrus wake up to no Will and no staff, but they do still have the compass, and they can find him. Not that Will's making it very far. The man instantly got lost in the forest. I don't know how he became a merry man. Every time he's in the woods, he's tripping over his own feet. He's falling down. He's getting lost. He was made for the city. Maine is great for him. Alice and Cyrus do find him. They chase him down, try to box him in, but Alice falls off a cliff after attempting to corner him. And Will tells her that, what Alice's real problem is that she thinks her love story is the only one worth fighting for. Except now, she's got two problems. Her second one being that she fell off a cliff. Will dives in after her and presumably saves her? Because the next thing we know, they're sitting safe on the shore. I don't know how he managed that. Alice comments that Will doesn't know how to swim. That's what I was thinking. How was he helpful in that situation? Surely he was hindering her ability to get back on land. Will just says, yeah, he might not know how to swim, but he doesn't know how to lose Alice either. And she admits she wasn't being fair. Will deserves the chance to get his happy ending, but they can't do it at the cost of letting Jafar win. They can't aid him. They meet back up with Cyrus, back to wandering the forest, when Alice senses the Jabberwocky approach. But she's not here on Jafar's orders. She's here of her own free will, seeking her own freedom. She doesn't want to answer to Jafar forever. And if they banish Jafar from this land, there will be no fear left for her to feed on, and she will just move on, go somewhere else. Everybody wins. She is on their side, technically, kind of. And she tells them that the staff can help them with what they truly want, bringing back Anastasia. She'll help with the banishing Jafar part where she can. So the four of them make a little plan. Back at the palace, Jafar dragged Taj and Rafi, Cyrus's brothers, out of their genie bottles just to look at them and confirm his suspicions about Amara's relationship to the genies. And apparently they all look so related, he figures it out beyond the shadow of a doubt and then puts them back in their bottles. I don't think they look that related, but all right. But now he knows exactly how Amara is compromised. The Jabberwocky brings Cyrus to Jafar, restrained in ropes, offering him in exchange for the Vorpal Blade, please, 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 please. Jafar asks Cyrus for his staff. Cyrus spits on Jafar. Jafar slaps Cyrus. Jafar has his guards take Cyrus away to the dungeons and tells the Jabberwocky to sit tight like a good little girl, which is not what I would say to my pet monster that hates me. Personally, to each their own. Alice and Will break into Jafar's dungeons, where Will diverts the guards to follow him through the halls of the castle, leaving Alice free to break the Sultan out of prison and ask for his help to stop Jafar. Alice gets in a sword fight by some guards, which I know she was so stoked about, and Jafar summons Will just in time to get Will away from the 6 guards that he got cornered by. Again, this man can't do anything. And then Jafar just starts force choking him, demanding to know where the staff is, when Amara walks in, unstaffed, human, just regular Amara. Jafar puts Will back in his bottle and asks Amara how she's free, which I would also like to know. She just says she didn't teach Jafar all her tricks, which is not a fucking answer. Could she have just done that? At any time, could she have just not been a staff anymore? What happened? We will never know. Amara and Jafar start having a magic fight for a minute, and Cyrus takes a distraction to grab his brother's bottles, but Jafar notices and whips a shard of mirror directly into the boy's chest. Alice collapses in a stairway, feeling that Cyrus was just stabbed through their intertwined heart magic they have, and starts running for him. There's only one way for Amara to get her son back now, and that's to break the laws of magic and revive him. So Jafar has his second willing sorcerer and 3 trapped genies, all with hearts in them and everything. I'm not even gonna, in the arms of an angel, the boy. You and I both know he's not gonna be dead for a full 5 minutes. Alice runs to Cyrus's dead body. Jafar's eyes glow white, and the laws of magic are long gone. It's the finale! Jafar, Sorcerer Supreme, moves in to kill Amara, the other Sorcerer Supreme, but his father runs in to stop him. Jafar says he can finally have what he's always wanted. It's the same thing he's wanted since he was 10 years old in his father's throne room for the first time. And the Sultan starts to say he will never love Jafar, never accept Jafar as a son, when Jafar does a magic to make the Sultan do just that. The Sultan tells Jafar he's so proud of him, that Jafar is his son. Everything Jafar's ever wanted to hear. He loves his son. Jafar has exactly what he wanted. And Jafar looks so soft while the Sultan is doing this. He's crying. He's got these big old puppy eyes. He is just gazing lovingly at his father, except what he really wanted, more than anything, was for his father to understand what it feels like to be killed by someone you truly loved. The Sultan's lungs fill with water, spilling out of his mouth like a torrent, and he dies drowning, standing in a clear, dry room. That's the thing Jafar has been angling for this entire time. In the arms of... When Jafar turns back to Amara, she's gone, along with Alice and Cyrus, so he goes to find the Jabberwocky in the dungeons, where she is shocked to find she can read no fear from him at all. He pins her to the wall with the Vorpal blade, rendering her powerless, taking her off the map. This is where she remains for the entire rest of the show. We never see her again. She's just stuck to a wall forever now. He blows her a kiss and leaves her there. He's so hot. Jafar gets Will out of his bottle, but keeps him trapped in one spot by a little triangle of magic power, just to show off another awful thing that he did. Jafar has brought Anastasia back to life. There she is, my Anna, our Anna. But Jafar used magic to make Anastasia fall in love with him, and they start making out in front of Will. Jafar has been commenting on how hot Anna is throughout the show, and he is desperate to be loved. So this honestly tracks for him. So wild to make Will be a part of it, though. Jafar also summons an army of undead soldiers, men who fell in the Red Queen's service, and they are tasked with finding and killing Amara. Jafar tells them all in a rousing speech to his masses. Amara and Alice are flying Cyrus to the White Rabbit's house on Jafar's flying carpet. Mrs. Rabbit angles to start healing the boy herself. She is a healer, after all, but Amara just uses her new limitless magic to bring Cyrus back to life. They could have done this anywhere. They just chose to do it in the rabbit's house to bother him.
This is great. Now we have matching blood stains on the carpet.
Oh, Percy, calm down.
Seriously, who needs a photo album when you got this? Look, kids, here's where Alice almost died. And, ooh, look, here's where Cyrus's spleen fell out.
Actually, they're dragging the White Rabbit into all of this again, saying it will take all of them to take down Jafar. Also, Amara is bonding with Alice, her future daughter-in-law. I still refuse to root for her. This show is just treating her like an unchallenged good guy. It's kind of weird. It's like they think I don't know who she is, other than her being Cyrus's mom. I know she's Cyrus's mom. There's a lot of people's moms I don't like, even though I like their kids. I know she's Cyrus's mom. Amara is, at the very least, so down to return the magic water to the Well of Wonders, to sacrifice her life. Again, though, literally, why could she not have done that forever ago? Before she did all that to Jafar! Alice's part of the plan is to gather the White Rabbit and some soldiers to go free Will, while Cyrus and Amara go to the well. So Alice gets her people and some armor, gives a rousing speech to her masses, and they're off to storm the castle and fight for Wonderland. And it does not go well. Most of Alice's untrained fighters die to Jafar's undead soldier army, and she gets captured. I don't know how she expected this to go. Alice is brought before Jafar, where Will is trapped in his triangle, and Anastasia's casually lounged over a couch, making out with Mr. Sorcerer Supreme every time he walks by. He doesn't call himself Sorcerer Supreme, by the way. I just started calling him that in my head, and I can't stop. Jafar asks Alice where Amara is, threatening to change her past if she doesn't tell him what he wants. It's something he can do now. He can make it. So she and Cyrus never even met. Will and Anastasia both encourage her to just tell him, but Alice refuses, saying what she and Cyrus have is more powerful than Jafar's literally limitless magic, and that nothing he does will change, that he can never have his own true love, that he has to make do with illusions and tricks. Jafar tries to find comfort in holding Anastasia's hands, as Alice keeps reiterating that Jafar will never actually be loved, which is honestly a very sad instinct to have in that moment. But then soldiers come in with news. They know where Amara is. She was last seen in front of 2 red doors. Jafar asks Alice to please elaborate on what those doors are, and when she won't, he just brings Anna over and asks her instead. She tells him easily, of course, because she's deeply and obsessively in love with him. So Jafar heads for the Well of Wonders. This leaves Will, Anna, and Alice just chilling in the throne room, along with the White Rabbit, who snuck in behind them. The rabbit comes in to untie Alice, and Will tries and fails to keep Anastasia's attention away from that. And when she notices and gets upset, he just goes in for the kill of trying to get his girlfriend back. Will tells Anastasia that what she feels now for Jafar isn't real love, that she's had real, messy love before, and this isn't it. He says that he loves her, he forgives her, and he begs for her help.
If what I feel isn't love, then what is?
True love's kiss breaks her curse. She's still alive, but she isn't in love with Jafar anymore. She unties Alice, and she's back on their side. Anastasia, I have missed you. Cyrus and Amara are already at the Well of Wonders. Amara tells Nyx that she's here to willingly surrender the water. She tearfully kisses Cyrus's hand goodbye and asks him to let her go, and she turns to sacrifice herself. But who's here to pull her away from the well with magic? Jafar! He kills her right then and there, but she dies touching a puddle, and she dissolves into water. In the arms of... Fuck you. Jafar goes to kill Cyrus too, but the ground beneath him explodes. It's a White Rabbit portal. Alice is here to save him. And Jafar punts the White Rabbit into the trees. Dear Lord! And Cyrus grabs a handful of the water that used to be his mom and offers it, verbally, back to Nyx. Before the water touches the surface of the well, Jafar yoinks it away with magic and smashes it between his hands. But you know what that means, baby? That's right. He stole water that belonged to Nyx. It had been offered back to her. Nyx rises back out of her well and curses Jafar into being a genie. He's genie cursed and stuck in a bottle that's transported far away from here. And Cyrus's brothers and Will Scarlet are all free from their own genie curses. Taj and Rafi celebrate together. They're both very confused about why Will is there. This is a stranger. They were surely expecting Cyrus. But this means that everything that Jafar did as Sorcerer Supreme has been undone. That means no more undead army around, but more importantly, no more Anastasia. In the arms of... No. Will is staring at Anastasia's body, where he's placed it all comfy on a mattress in the middle of a big hallway, already mourning her again, when Alice comes in and tells him it wasn't Anastasia's time. Nyx offered them water from the Well of Wonders to bring Anna back because it just arbitrarily isn't her time yet. She's allowed to have the magic water. Will pours the water in Anastasia's mouth and she is back, uncursed, completely herself, ready to be with the man she loves forever. Cyrus reunites with his brothers and has to break the news that their mom is dead for good now, that she sacrificed herself for them. And I guess history will remember her as a hero. I feel very weird about that. It's like her fault that Jafar was able to do all that. We can all come to that understanding, right? Jafar would not be the man that he was if Amara didn't do all that. This is all her fault. And you know what? I'll say it. If she'd raised better, more humble, less boring sons, this also never would have happened in the first place. It's all Amara's fault at the end of the day. Cyrus and Alice decide to leave Wonderland for a new adventure. And I actually have a lot of feelings about this choice they make, which I'm sure does not surprise you. They go back to Victorian England. They get married. Alice's wedding dress is fucking gorgeous. It's so good. And they get married in a small ceremony in Alice's father's house, officiated by the White Rabbit and attended by a bunch of former genies and Anastasia and the non-evil Tweedle. We don't actually know what happened to the evil one. We don't even actually hear their wedding ceremony. We just see it muted over some soft music. We see Will jokingly does the whole I object, and Anna gets all flustered, pulling him down back into his seat. Also, Anastasia doesn't wear red anymore. They've got her in lavender because she's in a new chapter of her life. All of this, I wouldn't actually mind. That Alice wanted to get married in her own customs and have her dad there makes a lot of sense to me. But then they stay in Victorian England forever? They send everyone else back off. Anastasia and Will go back to Wonderland. Alice and Cyrus promise to visit. Alice seems in actual pain sending Will and Anna back. She looks so upset and strained. They actually even fail to do it the first time because Will and Alice turn around and run back to each other to give each other a way bigger hug and thank each other, wishing each other well. Alice literally looks like she's about to cry. She looks like she's about to call the whole thing off and follow them back. And she doesn't. The little epilogue, the last scene, is a flash forward. It's Alice reading a story she wrote about Wonderland to her and Cyrus's 8-year-old daughter, who looks just like baby Snow White from Once Upon a Time, by the way. It's a story about the White King and the White Queen, Will and Anastasia, as they are now in Wonderland, the rulers that they made themselves into. And she asks her daughter to help her name it. And they name it Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And the White Rabbit watches them from across the clearing. The end. And, okay, if it were me, and I hated Victorian England, never felt like I belonged there, was held in an asylum there for a really long time, I would not personally bring my recently ungenied husband to live there forever, in a world that I hate and he doesn't understand. Neither of us belong in Victorian England. I'd probably stay in a dimension where I could talk about my adventures, literally ever, and maybe also see my only friends. Sometimes, maybe not forever separate my husband from the family he just got back as well. I know that they said they're going to visit. They are not in control of how often they visit. They need the White Rabbit for that. And him being there at the end implies that he is there. They can visit. Why? Again, me personally, if this was me doing this, I probably would have tried to keep everyone in Wonderland. And if they didn't want to do that, maybe I could move them into the Enchanted Forest. And when Will and Anna both explode about how they don't want to do that, we'd go to Maine. We'd go to Storybrooke. Will Scarlet is not staying in Fantasyland. He loves air conditioning and milkshakes. Alice doesn't want to stay in Wonderland. Anastasia doesn't want to go back to the Enchanted Forest. Cyrus would not like Victorian England. Go to Storybrooke. Hang out with Anastasia's stepsister. Meet her kid. Build yourself a life with people who understand you and what you've gone through. It'd be a fresh start for Anastasia, who desperately needs one. It'd be a community of like-minded individuals for Alice, who's been lacking that support structure her entire life. There'd be people there trained in how to deal with the trauma of an entire life stripped of autonomy to help Cyrus not blow up and push Alice away every time he encounters a minor obstacle. There'd be sidewalks and cell phones for Will. How is that not how this ended? How did we not end with him going to Storybrooke? If you already wanted some of these actors to show up in your main show, that's how you make it make sense. You just fucking wait until we talk about season 4 and the ways they incorporate Will into it. It makes literally no sense with the ending as written. It makes me so mad. Will Scarlet doesn't want to be king. Anastasia doesn't even really want to be the queen. I don't think them being the White King and Queen and benevolently ruling Wonderland is a good ending for them. I think they're just trapped in a new way now. Alice doesn't want to be constrained by the trappings of Victorian society. Cyrus is going to get himself into a street fight in London because he has no idea what the rigid social customs are. And Will and Alice want to stay in each other's lives. That's his little sister. That is her brother. Why are you doing this to them? Put them back. I just really thought that's where this was going the whole time. The ending absolutely knocked me off my feet. I was so confused. Anyway, that's the show. What did you think? Did you like it? I did. I mean, it makes me crazy, but I've watched it 3 times in full in the last month. I liked it. Let's do our whole season wrap up, our final thoughts, and then I'll get you all out of here before dinner. I meant to wear this crown with the outfit in the intro, and I didn't. So I'm wearing it now? Let's do our final thoughts on Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. Like I just said, I liked it. I liked it. I've watched it so many times because I liked it. And maybe it didn't sound like I liked it. And that's because when I really like things, I have to pull them apart into a bunch of pieces to find the parts that I really, really like that make me feel sick. I like them so much. And then I hold those ones up and I go, look. And then the rest of it I could really take or leave. I assume by this point in the video, you know exactly what those things were for me in this television show. And honestly, I think going through this show is really gonna pay off for the rest of our Once Upon a Time watching and recapping experience. I've already mentioned that it makes me almost unable to watch season 4. But do you want to know who shows up in season 6 of Once Upon a Time? I'll spoil it for you right now. Alice. Not this Alice. They make a new one. Because nobody watched this television show. So they just pretended that it doesn't exist. But it exists to me. And now it exists to you as well. So let's talk about outfits. Let's talk about the best characters. And let's talk about who the ultimate biggest loser of this TV show was. I can't wait. So the thing about the outfits in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland is I liked a lot of them just okay. Like they were all mostly just okay, which is the worst thing that an outfit in Once Upon a Time can be. But there were, technically, a few that I liked more than the rest. So my second favorite outfit was actually one of Jafar's, but not one of his big dramatic ones. There's this outfit that Jafar wears a couple of times where it's sort of his like casual day-to-day sorcerer robes. It's like these simple black robes and they've got this gold trim and this red-black like corset belt situation. There's like a really subtle snake pattern which I think is an excellent callback to his relationship and his dynamic with Amara, because she's the one who's obsessed with snakes. I don't think he gives a shit about snakes, except for the ways that Amara was obsessed with them. And I really like the bracers with it too. It's pretty simple for a Once Upon a Time outfit, but it's also extravagant enough that the fact that this is one of his simpler outfits tells you a lot about him as a character. That this is just kind of what he wears to go about his business. Like, oh, he's wearing all of that just to like go grocery shopping without it being super gaudy. It tells you a lot about his own self of like self-importance, the wealth that he has, the power that he holds. I think it's great. And I think he looks so good in it. Also, his corals at the beginning were so pretty. They were so pretty, and then like 2 episodes in, they cut all of his hair off. Why'd they do that? Not all of it, obviously. He still had it like shoulder length, but hey, what was that style choice? It wasn't an in-canon thing. He just cut his hair overnight, and nobody was even like, good haircut, Jafar. If I could have justified calling a haircut an outfit, I would have just made second place his hair. I would have done it. For my actual favorite outfit of the show, I almost went with Anastasia's like traveling outfit that she ends up with kind of after her heel turn, return to the good side with the red pants and that high-necked red cape situation that she had going on. I did really like that, and I liked that she started wearing her hair half down as she was wearing that and traveling with Alice and Cyrus as well. I thought it was a good visual transformation for her without being so dramatic, because then they could save the fact that she stopped wearing red for the very, very end after she got back with Will and kind of turned her life back to the direction it wanted to go. It was a good midpoint, and it was a really fun outfit. But I'm going to go with the outfit that actually delighted me the most when it came up, which was Alice's second outfit. The only good outfit she wore in Wonderland the entire time. Not the only good outfit she had the entire show, okay? Because I thought she looked great in the actual like Victorian England clothes when she was miserable in Victorian England. And then also her wedding dress was so good. Even her epilogue outfit was good. She looked good in the Victorian stuff, basically. But for some reason, her original Wonderland outfit with the like boho pastel blue bell sleeves and like purple leather corset, hated it. Couldn't stand it. The leggings and the knee-high boots did not help. That pink butterfly dress. Actually, you know what? That pink butterfly dress, worst outfit of the season, made me so mad. So mad! Alice is not an 8-year-old being reluctantly dragged to Sunday school. She's sword fighting for her life in an alternate dimension. Why did you style her like that? Not even why is she wearing that? Why does she own that dress? I don't even want the in-character justifications. I don't need them. Why did the real-life human adults making this television show put her in that dress? What was the reason? Like, it's cute. It's a cute dress. It would have been really cute for a 4-year-old on Easter Sunday. Not our protagonist, who, like, does murder regularly. Back to the good outfit, though. The outfit she changed into after she met up with Cyrus again was genuinely great. It was good. It was like nice neutral colors. It looked mature. It was still easy to move in. It looked a little bit steampunky, a little bit inventory, like I said before. It kind of fits her like smart girl, good under pressure, great at riddles kind of vibe that she has going on. She's very competent. She's confident. She knows what she's doing. And this outfit looks like that. It looks like she belongs here and like she's comfortable in what it is that she's doing. And it makes her look good. What happened? Let's talk about the best characters of the season. And that, for me, in this case, doesn't mean the winners of the season. Because if I was going with winners, I'd have to put Alice and Cyrus on there. And I don't want to. And I like Alice and Cyrus. They're fine. We're a little boring. And that's really their only crime. Cyrus started to get interesting, and it's because he started to get rude in a way that told me he needed to do some intense inner work and emotional healing. And then they stepped past it, and they didn't address it. Like, I'm pretty sure the only time I put one of the Charmings in my top characters in a wrap-up is because Snow White killed Cora. And I really liked that she did that. And that's it. That's the one thing that'll guarantee you a place on the board, it seems. My number 3 top character of Once Upon a Time in Wonderland is Jafar. It's Jafar. I love when a guy is so dedicated to a cause or to a purpose, that he becomes completely blind to how dumb that cause is. You want your dad to love you back so bad that you break the actual rules by which the universe is governed. You want to steal a guy's girlfriend so bad that you also use that to help justify breaking those universe rules. You're constantly slaying. You look so good. And you're one of the only bitches here bothering to do so. Jafar will make any and every ill-advised decision. He will listen to no advice. And he doesn't even die in the end. Like, it sucks to be a genie, but he is so smart and manipulative and conniving. I don't think you can assume he's going to permanently be a genie. He's going to get out of that. And I was having fun with Jafar. Some of the bitches in the show I was not having any fun with. Okay? But I was having so much fun with Jafar every time he was on screen. Except for when he was on screen with Amara. And then mostly I was not having fun. Mostly then I just felt bad. And I was like, oh, that's why you're like that. That makes sense. And that, in my book, makes him one of the best characters of the season. Number 2, Will Scarlet. Hey, guys, if you hand me a man who literally lived without his heart for years on end, just so he wouldn't have to experience his own feelings, yeah, I'm there. Avoidant, attachment, depressive, king. And he's the guy who's fed up with fairy tale logic. I'm there. Unfortunately. Just wandering around the forest, bitching and moaning because you got to experience indoor plumbing for years and then got it taken away from you. I would too. World's most relatable man. And I do not need any of you to analyze what that means about me. Thank you. He's going to hate being king. He's going to absolutely hate it. Even if I say, sure, the show ended how it ended, I think Will Scarlet would somehow end up overthrowing himself just so he can take his girlfriend back to Maine and introduce her to refrigeration and cars. They'd both love, like, sports cars and ice cream, and he could meet her stepsister. He already knows Ashley because, I mean, they did even intersect in the very beginning of the show, but now he could know they're stepsisters. Did he know? No way he knew that the whole time. He probably didn't know, right? I think he's fun. He's fun. I like his voice. I like his accent. I like that he had no patience for Robin Hood's code of conduct. As much as I love Robin Hood, I really liked how much Will Scarlet didn't give a shit about it. And I love how much he loves his girlfriend. Yeah, I'll say it. Absolutely everyone here knew this was coming. Number 1 character of the season is Anastasia Tremaine. Who else could it be? She's got a fake accent. She always looks like she's on the verge of tears. She has incredibly realistic responses to torture. She made a wild impulse decision years ago and just decided that's her life forever now, even though she kind of hates it. It's a level of committing to the bit that you and I can barely comprehend. And I'm so happy she gets a happy ending. I really hope she enjoys ruling Wonderland with a man so deeply unqualified to be king. I don't even know if she's qualified to be queen. She might be now since she's been practicing for so many years, but she certainly wasn't when she started. Also, she looks so good in red. And her chess piece castle is so cool. It's a real win for the aesthetic girlies everywhere. Anastasia Tremaine, I am free on Thursday evening. If you and your boyfriend also happen to be free on Thursday evening, you should give me a call and let me know that you're free on Thursday evening when I am also free on Thursday evening. And it's not because I'm trying to slide in there into what you've got going on. I actually want to administer couples therapy because I think you guys have a couple of things you might need to discuss. Anyway, I hope Anastasia really enjoys her future career as a waitress at Granny's alongside her stepsister. I think she's going to have a great time. This is what's real to me. This is me rewriting Neil Cassidy's ending all over again. I've just decided it's true and it's going to make me so mad later when it's not. I can't try to live like this. I would argue that there were actually many losers of this season, but there was one loser supreme, Amara. And you know what? Good. Lose. Lose hard. I have no clue why she did all that to Jafar. Okay, but she also raised 3 very boring young men, lost them to their hubris, spent centuries as a frozen snake in service to the man she turbo-groomed, and then died. My condolences to Cyrus's brothers. No one lost harder than she did. Hell yeah. Thank you so much for joining me for this leg of my Once Upon a Time journey. If you wish you could have seen this video before anybody else, you should have been on my Patreon, patreon.com/HaleyWhipjack. You get sneak peeks, you get early videos, you get extra videos every month. Also, if you want to know other exciting things I'm doing on the internet, you should check out Unprepared Casters, my TTRPG/D&D actual play podcast. We have a charity stream for Trans Lifeline coming up in the first week of June with some absolutely insane and incredible special guests that I can't believe are coming to play Dungeons & Dragons with me. June 8th, 2024, 10 a.m. Central to 10 p.m. Central. Be there, help us raise some money for a really great cause, and it's going to be so chaotic in there. I absolutely love getting to just sit down and describe and talk about television shows and movies with you for long periods of time, but it's a very time-consuming process, like so many hours, and I really wouldn't be able to justify that amount of time if I didn't have my patrons on my Patreon. Y'all are the reason I can do this. I really love getting your reactions to the videos early. I love getting to share extra content with you every month. You are a wonderful group of people. And I would in fact like to say thank you to all of you right now, starting with Alcyon Hero, Annie G, Autumn Vector, Britty, Kazran, Ollie D, Rocky Henry, The Sheriff, Zachary Fly, Zebby Lown. A Bitter Taste Of, Aiden Sowood, Amy Ernst, AJ Holian, Akadoroku, Alex Pluto Murphy, Alex Stevens, Alice, Alex, Allison Auburn, Amalia, Anastasia, Anna Elise, Anna, Annie Teller, Argentum Inc., Artemis Nix, Ashley Figura, Ash Raven, Avery Jack Thayer, Azure, Babbity Kate, Bada Kid, Barb, Basil, Beard Acknowledge, Becca B, Bex Rhodes, Beck, B, Bees, Bethany Draws Art, Blake Stewart, Bobby Banner, Box of Cherubs, Brain Boy, Bubblegum Bell, Cammie, Carly Hartle, Caroline Odin, Cass Rogers, Kilt Code, Cheyenne, Chronic Escapee, Claire Sheehan, Claire Online, Clever Name, Cloud and Mercury, Kuste, Cyrus Moore, Dakota Lewinsky, Danny Bozeman, Danielle Tefke, Declan Roof, Deals, Delaney, Devin Ellert, Devin Meskill, Digimaniac 33, Ditto, Drake, Ed Slushy, Eli Gibson, El Verona, Elysium, Embers, Emily Dykehouse, Emma B, Emma Stewart, Emma Thomas, NB Ennui, Eric, Aaron Rumsey, Evil Scrump, Fish, Fletcher Sanderson, Flub, Foolery with Nori, Funky Elvis Monkey, Finch R, Gabby, Giant, Graham Harrison, Gregory Wise, Hale, Hannah E, Harper Hex, Henry, Infinity Girl, Insane in the Brain, It's a Secret, Izzy Alexander, Jackie, James David, James Summers, Jasmine, Jane, Jeffrey Wickstrom, Jenny Fastnacht, Jenny Waboom, Jeremy B, Jericho, Jessica Page, Jordan, Jordy LaForge, Joshua Caliendo, Jubilee, Julia S, Juliana Backer, Julie Stunk, Kavo Conrad, Kakasu Wolf, Carissa, Kat, Kathleen, Catherine Hill, Kelsey Rodriguez, Kirby.jpg, Keverlyn C, Kean Smith, King Panda, Kitty Kitty, Large Paws, KJ, Kyle Richardson, Kylie Dactyl, Lady of Autumn, Laura Whitlock, Lawson Lee, Lee Z's, Lemonberry Coda, Liam John Lawson, Libby, Lisa Spitalowitz, Leah, Lizzie Gale, Lucy Schneider, Lydia Gallernew, Mackenzie Smith, Marcel Barth, Marie, Martine, Mary R, Matt Ross, Matt Dam, May, Micah, Minnie's Mayhem, Mitchum Ditchum, Mo Spooky, Molly Early, Morgan Potter, Murph Wazir, Nathan Shiflet, Navy Speaker, Nick the Brick, Noah, Nora H, Nick Snacks, Olivia, Olive, Oski the Bard, Paige, Philip Dameron, Fix, Phoenix, Poblato, Poetic Cinema, Quintanamo Bay, Rainbow Namja, Rebecca Dawn, Rookie Baby, Rosemary Finch, Rosie Redhead Girl, Rowan C, Rune Tannen, Ryan Hlavakak, Ryan Isaacs, Sal, Sapphicus Finch, Sarah Gallen, Seabass of the Sea, Sierra Brown, Simon Says, Simran, Sky, Slime Enby, Space Battery, Spapples, Steen, Steph Bell, Sticks, Sydney, Silas S. Alex, Taylor Burke, Tex the Gentle Giant, The Plum Satyr, The Smart Turnip, Thomas Guzzo, TJ, Toby Springer, Tommy Peterson, Tyler Whitsett, Unholy Fish, V, Valhallen, Vanillin Zucker, Void Lich, Funks, Wood, Will, Woody Daniel, Xavier, Ngve Leo, Zachary McMinn, and Zane. Thank you so much. I just cannot believe how long that list is. That doesn't feel real at all. Season 4 will be coming to you soon. I might do something else in between this and Season 4 so I don't start literally bleeding and throwing up once upon a time. We'll see, and you'll see me next time. Swear to God, hand on my heart, I thought this video was going to be under 2 hours long. I forgot how much I yap.